businesses with electronic products will give as much as 70% of their revenues away to affiliates that can help them grow their revenue. Service businesses will give up to 50% away. Product businesses will give away 5 to 20%, and asset-based businesses like property will give far less, because the asset cost is so much greater. Through conversations and research, find out how money in the company is normally split when it forms a partnership or brings in help. Agree on the basics. What are you going to do? What is the benefit to them? What happens if you are successful? What are you waiting for, Superman? Keep yourself positive with your Clark Kent time and answer these 5 questions to create the job that gets you on the inside. Chapter 5. From orange to yellow, worker to player. Positive personal cash flow controlled by others' dependence, resignation cost of staying. Anonymity, fear, frustration. Identity and independence. Education, mindset, conditioning. Identify your identity, master your market, monetize your moment. Welcome to orange level. The air is much clearer up here. You can see there is more than just getting by at red level. You are in positive cash flow. You feel some sense of direction. Even if you are in a well-paying job you don't love, at least you are moving forward and in a better position to move up than those who quit and slip back down to red or infrared. You have a deeper sense of self-worth, especially as others often acknowledge the good work you do. But you are still dependent on those others to get by. Maybe you have a job and haven't yet found your own identity in the market. Perhaps you have a business, but you haven't been able to create an identity that attracts others, so you still need to chase the money. You might have overextended yourself with properties or assets that went negative, leaving you dependent on working in a job or in your business to get by. Or you may have just climbed here from red level and now want to figure out how to master your market, multiply your income, and attract the flow of wealth to you. Regardless of your circumstance, you work hard for a living at orange level. On the one hand, extra cash does come in constantly, so you don't have that same level of anxiety as red level. On the other hand, you are constantly chasing business, and the end of the week comes as a relief. Being an orange worker used to be enough to live a good life. Our grandparents or parents' generations could work hard, stay at one company most of their working days, and have the money to retire when they stopped. Today the world is far less secure. True security only comes from designing your own pathway and moving from dependence at orange level to independence at yellow level, where you have your own boat and sail it wherever you choose instead of being a passenger on a boat that could sink at any time. Yellow level is a very different feeling than orange level because you earn money from your opportunities, partnerships, products, and services instead of by trading your time. You are no longer chasing the flow, you are focused on a niche and people. The business shows up for you. Opportunities get attracted to you because of your position in the market. You make money far more easily and have a real sense of participation in the markets. How do you do that? Before you follow your genius's path through the 3 steps out of orange, let me let you in on a secret that you can understand by reaching orange level. All flow in every system is made up of just 2 things. Everything from your personal finances to the finances of very big companies to entire economies is made up of projects and processes. Projects and processes. Projects are things that add flow, like new roads. Dynamo and Blaze geniuses love projects and adding new products and relationships to the flow. The problem is that many of us try to start new projects, creating extra income, getting a new job, or starting a business, and find they cost time and money that we don't have. Or we start a project that creates a traffic jam or creates a road that goes nowhere. I've seen people write books or put up websites that end up taking a lot of time but doing nothing to help them create any flow or make any money when the project is complete. Processes are things that maintain flow, like a road that links to other roads. Any block or break leads to a problem on a road, like a traffic jam. Similarly, any block or break in our financial flow leads to a financial problem. Tempo and steel geniuses love processes for restoring, maintaining, and improving this flow. The problem is that most of us are stuck in the middle of our processes, directing the traffic instead of outsourcing or automating the flow so we can get off the road and back to enhancing and expanding our system. In the Foundation Prism, we are all participating in other people's projects and processes. It is our money or time going into their plumbing system as consumers or workers. In the Enterprise Prism, we get rewarded for adding to or maintaining the global plumbing system as creators and employers. To move to yellow level and the Enterprise Prism, you need to look at what processes you are spending time on and see what you can outsource or automate. Then the trick is to turn your projects into profitable projects. I call these profitable projects promotions. Other wealth creators might call them campaigns, but the terms mean the same thing. Projects that create new flow, enable new learning, and make money. Based on past experience and best guesses, you set a path, a beginning and an end, and milestones along the way so you know what value you want to deliver and when you want to deliver it. Based on your level, it may be a promotion to create $100, $1,000, or more in new cash flow. You then use this to get the job you want, start the right business, make the right investment, create a new partnership, and more. You don't need to have all the answers to the who and how yet. You just need to answer the questions: what are my goals? And what are the milestones I want to reach, and when will I reach them? The action point at the end of this chapter helps you come up with your own promotion, and your personnel page has links to a detailed promotions playbook to move you forward even farther. Once you become aware of the anatomy of a promotion, you will see that wealth creators in any industry, retail, publishing, travel, speaking, training, tech startups, online marketing, network marketing, property, financial markets, financial services, and so on, follow the most effective promotion models for their industries to earn and learn. They test and measure against their assumptions and then often share best practices with each other. The unsuccessful leaders simply open up shop, get busy, chase the business, and hope for the best. Understanding how to use your genius to create a promotion allows you to raise your monthly cash flow far higher than time alone allows. My first publication, my first event, my first property purchase and sale, my first business launch and sale. Each of these was a promotion that allowed me to make the money I wanted, attract the resources and partnerships I needed, and test and measure the results. Most important, as we get better at predicting and replicating the results of our promotions, we attract the higher quality partners we need to climb from yellow player to green performer to blue conductor. Making sure you understand how the power of zero and the wealth equation relate to your promotions and to the 10 steps to $1 million we covered in the last chapter is essential before starting this climb. The power of zero. How did I and how will you take the 10 steps to $1 million, from $1,600 net cash flow each month to $3,200, $6,400, and beyond, through the power of zero? Think about what feels like a lot to you now. When I was 22 and my mentor challenged me to make an extra $100 each month, I thought that was easy. When he said I could make an extra $100,000 each month, I thought he was crazy. So what feels like a lot of money to you in terms of those zeros? Is it $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000, or more? What is the amount of money you would really notice if it disappeared from your bank account tomorrow? When I was 7, I received pocket money of 50 cents each week. I thought, if I save up my pocket money, I can buy a bicycle like my friend Paul got for his birthday. I didn't take the time to work out how many months or years I would need to save. I just remember saving, and after 1 month I had $2. 5 months later, I had $10. Then we moved to a new house, and in the move I lost my piggy bank. I literally lost all the money in my piggy bank. It was heartbreaking. $10 was like $1,000,000 to me then. More than a decade later, when I was in Cambridge and ran my first little business as a student, I was at red level. $10 was no longer a lot to me. But $100 was. So when I got to red level, I wouldn't miss $10, but $100 was a real buying decision. From there, each time I climbed a level in the lighthouse, I added a zero onto what I considered a lot of money. By the time I got to orange, I wouldn't miss $100 because there was more money flowing, but $1,000 became a risk. By the time I moved through yellow level, $10,000 was not so much, but $100,000 was a stretch to risk or lose. Simply put, I earned the right to play with more zeros at the next level by achieving the level below naturally and automatically. Adding a zero to what I was willing to comfortably lose in my promotions unlocked a new code, a new language, which we all need in order to listen with clarity and speak fluently at the level above. The time it took me to complete a money-making project also changed as I moved up the lighthouse. Starting at red and moving up to orange level, I could deliver results within a week of starting a new project. At yellow level, the time to complete a new promotion stretched to 1 to 3 months. At green level, it was a year. And at blue level today, I have promotions that last 3 to 5 years, including building and selling businesses, properties, or other assets. By focusing at the right size and speed of your promotions, as you rise up the levels one step at a time, you can turn what felt like a lot to something that you know is much easier to make. You can also do it at the right pace. Too many people shoot for $10,000 promotions when they haven't yet mastered $1,000 promotions. They're out of their depth the moment they begin. While promotions in the Foundation Prism are largely based around using your time and genius to connect to the flow of others, yellow-level promotions are larger because you are now engineering new sources of flow, launching a new product, starting a new partnership, or entering a new market. But before we see how each genius does this, there is one final tool you need in your toolbox to master the Enterprise Prism that I learned in my first promotion, the wealth equation. The wealth equation, wealth equals value leverage. I was 18 years old and finishing my first year at college. My friends were all planning a trip to Greece, and I didn't have the $800 I needed to join them. My director of studies had also just told me that unless I added more work to my architecture portfolio, I was in danger of failing. On top of this, I really wanted to attend the rowing camp that was taking place at end of term. How could I add to my portfolio if I was busy working somewhere? How would I even find the time to earn money in a job if I was also attending the rowing camp? Then, one evening, the proverbial light bulb went on above my head. Instead of asking all these questions separately and seeing only conflicting challenges, I combined them into one question: how do I earn $800 while adding to my portfolio, with enough time left over to attend rowing camp? I came up with a plan to answer this question and gave myself 1 week to make $400 to gauge my progress. That was how much money my friends were making in their summer jobs in London. If I could do that, I wouldn't need to get a job myself. I went to rowing camp each morning, but for the first 3 days, I went to a different tourist site in Cambridge immediately afterward: King's College Chapel, Trinity Gate, and St. John's Street. I sketched pictures of each in black and white, had them copied onto good paper, went to the supermarket to buy freezer bags, and put the prints in each bag. On the 4th day, I picked a busy spot where tourists were passing by, and I set myself up with a bag and a sign that said, "Limited Prints of Cambridge." I began drawing a 4th picture while I waited to sell my prints. It was slow going to begin with. By lunchtime I only had $40. So I began to experiment. I divided my time into 15-minute blocks and tracked when I sold prints and when I didn't. It turned out that when a group stopped, everyone stopped and bought, but if no one stopped, I didn't sell anything. So I started looking out for people who weren't so busy and struck up conversation. They stopped, a crowd stopped, and my sales doubled. By the end of the first day I had worked out that when I asked a child if he or she would like to watch me draw, an entire family would stop, and they would stay for twice as long. Again, my hourly sales doubled. By the end of the first day, I had more than $230. I repeated the process the next day, and at the end of 2 days of selling, I had 5 new pictures for my portfolio and over $400 in my pocket, my target for the week. I was extremely curious to see if the second week would be a repeat of the first. But in the middle of the second week, I plateaued at just over $200 a day. This still meant I made all the money I needed for the Greece trip within a week, and I realized I was earning a lot more than my friends in London. But what excited me more was watching and learning how flow moved just by interacting with people and how it changed over time. I wondered whether there were still ways to double the money I was making for the same effort. Turns out there were. As with all promotions where you are testing and measuring your results against a target, often the big breaks come by accident. It was about 11 in the morning of the second week, and I had just begun sketching a new picture while sitting on a new street corner. An American tourist and his wife stopped, and we got into a conversation. I asked if he would like to buy some of my prints. He looked at the new drawing I had just started and said, "No, but I would like to buy that. My original." I laughed. "No, I can't sell this. I'll make prints of this after and sell them, so I need to keep it. Everything has a price," he said. "How much?" I thought about that. I could decide that the value of the original was thousands of dollars if I calculated all the prints I would sell of it, or I could determine that it was just an hour of my time and sell it for that. Then it occurred to me that if I sold it for $200, I could take the rest of the day off. "It'll cost $200, I said. "Done," he replied. "But can you sign it as well?" So I wrote at the bottom, "Unfinished Original," and signed my name. He paid me $200 and then walked off with his wife. I sat in silence, looking at the money. I looked at my watch. It was 11:15 a.m. I had the entire day ahead of me. I could do anything I wanted. What would I do? I looked at my blank sketchpad. I looked at the scene I had just been drawing. I pulled out a blank sheet of paper and began drawing the same scene all over again. By the end of the day, I had my finished picture to start another income stream, another $200 earned plus the $200 from the American tourist, and I had doubled my earnings to $400 a day. Each day after that, I spent the first hour creating an unfinished original, signing it, posting it for sale, and beginning again. By the time I left for Greece, I had earned more than I could imagine. My friends looked at me strangely when I showed up with all that cash in my rucksack. You could say that my story required many pieces of luck and fortunate timing, not just artistic skill and a little inventiveness. I needed to be in a tourist town. I had to know how to draw pictures interesting enough that people would want to buy them. But in every promotion I have been a part of over the last 30 years, there has always been some luck. When you plan a promotion, you are directing all your actions to specific results, and leaving the door open for magic to happen and luck to occur. This little promotion was where I caught the entrepreneurial bug and sowed the seed for my future. In the end, my real success was not what I started with, but what I learned and adjusted through the process, especially my coming to understand, for the first time, the equation to wealth. It explains how we, like plumbers, can direct flow effectively using our genius, and it is an essential part of moving up to yellow level. Wealth equals value leverage. Imagine a river. Water flows where there is a height differential. Similarly, money flows where there is a value differential, based on value exchange. When people bought my prints for $6, it meant they valued my prints equal to or more than the price I set. I end up with their money and they end up with my prints. Every day, trillions of dollars of money flows naturally in this way. Value controls the speed of money flow. It is the grade of the river. Leverage is the width and controls the volume of money flow. By making copies of my drawings, I was leveraging the value so I could sell the same picture twice or 100 times with the same effort to draw it, but a much bigger potential payoff. Leverage. When the tourist bought my unfinished original, he saw greater value in my hour's work than my leverage was rewarding me for a day's work. But he may not have paid so much if I was not selling so many of my prints. My leverage led to new value. Between value and leverage, all great wealth creators control and grow flow. They create value, and they leverage it. Delivering more value is what it feels like when you accelerate a car by putting your foot on the gas. Leveraging your value is what it feels like when you shift up the gears, and at any moment, you can increase your cash flow by creating new value or adding new leverage. All the case studies to come involve understanding this equation. They take the first steps to moving from leveraging time to leveraging products or partnerships, which eventually leads to leveraging the expertise of others and entire teams in the enterprise prism. That's where you get into property, markets, and businesses, which all have value that you can leverage. Are you stuck not earning enough right now? There are ways that you can deliver more value, often by changing who you are delivering it to or whose value you are combining with. Are you stuck with not enough time? There are ways that you can leverage your value, letting you earn more with less time, often the same way great wealth creators do, work together with others to leverage each other's value. Simple? No, not quite. There are two opposites of value and two opposites of leverage. Too often, we follow a strategy that is the opposite of our own natural genius. Understanding these opposites allows us to see how we can apply our genius to add value and leverage effectively in our markets. Value is created from our ideas and senses, our thinking dynamic. Its two opposites are innovation and timing. Dynamo geniuses have an intuitive, thinking dynamic and create value best through innovation. Dynamos see the future and move things forward. At every level of the wealth lighthouse, dynamo geniuses take the creative route to flow. Tempo geniuses have a sensory, thinking dynamic and create value through timing. Tempos know when to buy, when to sell, when to act, and when to hold. At every level of the wealth lighthouse, tempo geniuses take the sensory route to flow. Value is leveraged through our internal and external actions, our action dynamic. The two opposites of leverage are multiply and magnify. Steel geniuses have an introvert, action dynamic and create leverage through multiplication by asking the question, how can I do this without me? Steel geniuses ascend the wealth lighthouse by focusing on the detail and creating systems to build their flow. Blaze geniuses have an extrovert, action dynamic and create leverage through magnification by asking the question, how can this only be done with me? Blaze geniuses ascend the wealth lighthouse by growing their relationships. When you know how to package, price, promote, and present value in line with your natural genius, you give yourself the power to turn on your own flow. This is the first step in mastering flow, knowing how to control and redirect it by packaging value and exchanging it for new streams of income. This can be through your own products or services, a deal, or a trade. It doesn't take money to make this happen. It takes connection to existing streams of knowledge, opportunity, and flow, and your own commitment to being curious and resourceful while adding value through your unique identity. The payoff in the enterprise prism is that you stop working for money, and money starts working for you. 3 steps to move from orange to yellow. Do you know what exact actions you can take right now that will put an extra $10,000 in your personal bank account within 3 months? If you don't, it is because you have not mastered the following 3 steps to get to yellow level. You don't have a close enough connection with your market that you know what value you can offer, how to price that value, and how to approach your market with a promotion compelling enough to attract its players. At orange level, you leave the understanding of how value is leveraged to create cash flow to your employer. You are simply a link in the value chain. To get to yellow level, you need to understand the chain and know not just what part you play in that chain but also how you assemble the other parts to ensure you create sustainable cash flow. Here are the 3 steps to move from orange to yellow. 1. Identify your identity. To own a place within the global money plumbing system, you first need to choose your specific position. What will you be number 1 at? What will be your niche? 2. Master your market. Defining your identity defines your market position, which means you have committed to a market that you must now master. To become a leading player in that market, you must learn who and where its players are, the market size, and the latest developments in that market. What is the profile of your perfect customer? What are their needs and dreams? In today's fast-moving economies, this mastery is paramount. 3. Monetize your moment. Plan and run promotions that pass your value to your market and put money in your pocket. You need a compelling offer on a particular product or service and a daily focus on whether the results are matching their plan, testing and measuring each day. Just like the 3 steps to get out of infrared and red, each genius has a different winning and losing formula or path through these steps. Go ahead and read your genius first, but you must read the other 3 after to understand how your winning and losing formula connects and differs from the others. Every industry, business opportunity, and profession has and needs a mix of geniuses to thrive. You can choose your industry or opportunity based on your passion in orange level and then be of value in a way that makes the most of your genius. But when you get to yellow level and the enterprise prism, you will need a team or partnerships with people already in flow to move you up to green. The steel genius path out of orange. Hattie Hassan was a plumber in the north of England, stuck in orange level. As a female plumber, she got business from women who were alone during the day and didn't want a male plumber in the house. But when I met her, she told me she was working hard chasing the business. Finding new clients was a challenge, and as a perfectionist, she also struggled with the idea of hiring another person to help her. A steel genius, Hattie seemed to sense that her path out of orange was to multiply, which meant licensing and franchising. To do this, though, she needed a team to make things run more efficiently and get her in flow most rapidly. She needed to partner with a dynamo genius to drive things forward creatively, and a blaze genius to connect to the market. Here are the 3 steps Hattie took to do that and move from orange to yellow and then green. Step 1. Identify your identity. Do not get stuck on the minutiae and metrics, trying to analyze your way to greater efficiency and higher sales. Do focus on what you uniquely stand for and what you want to be known for, and make it compelling enough that people will pass on the message. Hattie had been using her steel genius to focus on keeping her costs low for the business she had coming in, trying to find smarter and better ways to do the work and still support her clients. But in a cutthroat industry, no matter how much she tried to be efficient and have the best pricing in the industry, someone was always lower. Steel geniuses get caught up in details and market data. But that's not what it's about at this point. The question is, who do you want to become? Hattie told me the whole reason that she became a plumber was because she didn't like to have male tradesmen invading her house every time something needed to be fixed. She believed that women plumbers were as good as if not better than men. Why should they not also have an opportunity to work in the trade? Having a dynamo genius like me to talk with allowed her to think about what she could do as opposed to how she could do it. She thought about what she loved to do and how she could make it her goal as a company to train women to be plumbers and have a job after they did. Hattie then started researching whether there were any other women-only plumbing businesses out there. There weren't, and she decided that was going to be the focus of her business. If she could claim that unique identity, she could base her business around something other than the lowest price in the market, which led her to Step 2. Step 2. Master your market. Do not overreach by trying to spread yourself thin in too wide a market, being remote and out of touch with the people you are serving. Do use your Steel Genius to analyze a specific niche and work with Blaze Geniuses to connect with your customers and partners, ensuring you know what they need and what price they are willing to pay for your solutions. Mastering a market is about understanding what others are doing in that market and what your specific customers really want. Hattie used her Steel Genius to conduct a series of surveys and found out there was a real demand from women for a women-only plumbing business. Through this process, she also attracted women who were interested in becoming plumbers, especially if they knew all their clients were also only women. She now knew what she wanted to be known for, the founder of the first all-woman plumbing company in England. Hattie next decided to set up a business model that connected the two pieces and was perfectly suited to her genius. She could train women plumbers to her perfectionist standards and then set them up with their own plumbing businesses under her brand marketed to women. Problem was, she needed to revisit Step 1 and give this new business an identity. She struggled initially to find one but then came up with a brand name that immediately had the impact she wanted, a play on a British plumbing device and slang for the male anatomy, stopcocks. Step 3. Monetize your moment. Do not get caught up in daily activity with no light at the end of the tunnel. Do focus on using your mastery of process to set up a profitable promotion with clear milestones to create cash flow while developing a system to multiply your value. Even when they manage to find an identity and the right market, Steel Geniuses at Orange level often fail to set up their promotion. Whereas a Blaze or Dynamo Genius at this point gets lost chasing opportunities and tempos get lost in activity, Steel Geniuses revert to their tendency to minimize risk. Hattie's solution was to set up a promotion that would suit her Steel Genius and her team with the goal of setting up the systems and processes of her own activity as the model for all her licensees to follow. She assembled the team to support her, attracting great talent inspired by her vision and branding. Her work became easier and more meaningful as she tested and measured everything, envisioning all the women plumbers and clients who would be benefiting from her work in the future. With the brand and license model in place, attraction and flow continued to grow. Today, Stopcocks is a national company with women plumbers all over England. Hattie has never deviated from her niche, though she has expanded the service she offers and now has the business she always wanted, as well as more time than ever to keep making that vision grow. The Blaze Genius path out of Orange. Whereas Steel Geniuses focus on structure and clarity to move up to yellow level, Blaze Geniuses are all about the people. When I met B. Bankova, she was coaching women leaders in London, one of many leadership coaches chasing business in the city and relying mostly on word of mouth and referrals. She knew she wanted to work with women, but other than that she was not sure what she stood for and how to design her business to ensure that it took her to where she wanted to go. So we looked a little farther out. Imagine yourself 5 years in the future, I said. You are being invited on stage to speak to 1,000 people about your success. You are introduced with a 1-paragraph bio. It includes who you are, what you stand for, and what you have achieved. How would you want your bio to read 5 years from now? What will be the identity of your future self? When Bea answered my question about her future identity, she saw herself as a part of the global movement happening with women in leadership. I told her that her challenge was that who she wanted to be and the services she provided were all rolled into one, which meant that she was confusing her personal brand with her company brand, and she didn't even have a product brand. She needed to set a very clear destination, starting with her identity, and to make sure the people who showed up wanted to go to that destination with her. Step 1. Identify your identity. Do not try to be everything to everyone, saying yes to every possibility of business and trying to serve every person you meet. Do make a clear stand for who you are and who you are not, so when people show up to work with you, they already want to go where you want to take them, and when people refer you to others, it is for a specific niche. A Blaze genius trying to be everything to everybody at orange level is like a restaurant that serves everything without ever being known for anything. Customers walk in and ask what's good and you say, "What do you want to eat?" You'll make anything for them. Pizza? Sure. Indian food? Of course we can do that. People may come in initially, but it will be difficult for anyone to refer people to you, because no one is sure what your restaurant is about. Being all things to all people, standing for nothing and falling for everything, is not the way to go. You need to stay focused if you want people to recommend exactly what you are doing. Bee created a clear identity for herself by deciding she would be a voice for women leadership not in London, where so many competed against each other, but in her native Czech Republic, where she would be able to stand out. She created an organization, the Global Institute for Extraordinary Women, and a suite of certifications, beginning with the Femina Fusion certification program. Step 2. Master your market. Do not chase the business around you, getting distracted by the agendas and needs of others with no clear milestones for you to meet. Do strategically segment your market by understanding who your customers and partners are, and how you can be the #1 solution to their needs. Once Blazes have their identity identified, they want to get out to everybody they can and inevitably fall back into the being all things to all people trap. Blazes and their fire energy are always tempted to run around trying to light their bonfire in many different places, which never works as well as focusing on one spot and lighting it there. Instead, you need to build teams to help create, test, and measure the specific products that will serve your customers and partners. While you are out getting feedback, your team can be putting the products and systems together, with you assessing the quality of what is being delivered. Bee learned that she had 3 levels of customer in her market: women looking for inspiration and connection to get started in their business or career, successful women who were looking to unite in a meaningful way, and women leaders with their own networks who were looking for partnerships to grow their own missions. Knowing her market helped her decide on her first promotions to launch her institute. Step 3. Monetize your moment. Do not focus on working hard and chasing the next customer without a clear promotion plan that both you and your customers can follow. Do prioritize your actions in a plan that ensures that every moment of effort is being channeled toward profitable activity that moves you forward. For all their people skills, Blazes are not strong when it comes to pitching partners, because they are unsure exactly what they want or need. They need to have a clear picture of exactly what they want to achieve and give potential partners and team members a very clear way of seeing how they can work with them to create promotion partnerships. In other words, don't get caught up in trying to answer the question, "What should I do?" Instead, ask yourself, who has the right what? Who has the wood that I can turn into fire? Blazes need a tempo genius to support them with their timing and a steel genius to handle the details. Make sure you agree on the direction and milestones together as a team, or you will get unfocused rapidly, skipping from one project to another. With her new vision, Bee attracted a team of people willing to volunteer time in the early days to support her global institute. She set her financial flight path and saw that she could generate the money to support herself and the institute with a promotion specifically to a dozen women who would join a 12-month Founders Circle, benefit from mentoring and networking, and be the early success stories for the institute. With this new promotion, all it took was a few days of phone calls to the people who already knew and trusted her, and she had filled her mentoring circle. By magnifying her value, she got her funding in place, and she set up her second promotion to multiply her value, a book on her story that would shine a light on the institute. Blazes have difficulty promoting themselves but not a cause they believe in. The institute became BA's cause, and 6 months later, book in hand, she generated nationwide press with appearances on TV and the national media, which led to more interviews. 3 months later, B found herself in a panel discussion on national TV with the Prime Minister. B has continued to grow her Global Institute for Extraordinary Women from one promotion to the next, and now that the fire has been ignited in the Czech Republic, she is taking it around the world. Just 12 months after launch, B started forming the international partnerships she was dreaming of, including a 30-day women's retreat in Bali in partnership with an Australian woman leadership group. The Tempo Genius Path Out of Orange. Many hopeful wealth creators begin their path of entrepreneurship through a self-employed network, such as being a property or insurance agent, joining a franchise or licensed network like Hattie's Stopcock's Women Plumbers, or becoming part of a network marketing organization. In all these cases, success does not lie in the network. Success lies in whether you are operating at orange level and chasing the business or at yellow level and attracting the business to you with a clear personal identity that stands out and makes you the #1 choice for your market and clear promotions. Kevin and Tamsine Harris's network marketing business, Network 21, is one of the largest in South Africa with more than 20,000 distributors. But they faced a challenge familiar to so many in network marketing. Many of their distributors were chasing the same business. Kevin and Tamsine were at yellow level at this point, but they needed their leaders to take their teams to yellow, too, if they were going to reach green level. That would never happen if those leaders spent all their time chasing the business and competing with each other as opposed to creating their own identities to trade on. At the same time, while some people were naturally attracting business and their networks were growing rapidly, others were pushing business away. How could the successful orange to yellow level thinking be packaged for their entire network? Kevin is a blaze genius and Tamsine is a tempo genius. They approached me to see what we could do together to bring the MIlioner master plan to their network. The result was Network Dynamics, a promotion we rolled out to their network in Cape Town and Johannesburg with the following 3 steps and results. Step 1. Identify your identity. Do not get lost in the service of others, attempting to manage all the activity in front of you without a team to formulate a united plan. Do become clear on what you stand for, and the space you are creating for others to build trust and flow. While woman leadership suited BA's genius because it's in summer phase, network marketing is in its autumn phase. That meant Tamsine needed to take the lead with her tempo genius, which was a 180-degree shift from what they had been doing. Kevin had been leading with his blaze genius, running after the next opportunity with Tamsine chasing behind. We took this transformation in their relationship as the model for their network to follow. Tamsine used her tempo genius to set a new tone and culture that grounded the network, with Kevin shining a light on it. While blaze geniuses tend to get focused on what will be, tempo geniuses are more focused on what is right now, not future fulfillment, but enjoying a fulfilling day right now, today. That became the identity for their new culture, and they brought their leaders together to plan a new way of leading things forward with a united schedule and rhythm. Step 2. Master your market. Do not get caught up in the minutiae of the market or in a market model that gets you stuck in daily activity that is not directly profitable. To get a clear picture of who your market is and how you are delivering a superior service at the transactional level in a profitable way. Tamsine and Kevin looked at their network and identified their top leaders, bringing them together for a session to share a vision of the future. They told their stories and recorded them as part of a document titled The Network Effect, which laid out their vision in a way that was easy to share. They then looked at where their biggest networks were in South Africa to launch a pilot program for network dynamics and settled on a 10-week challenge in Cape Town. The challenge would involve teams of 8 on which each person would set 10-week goals in 5 areas of where they wanted their life to be in 10 weeks: wealth, health, excellence, relationships, and environment. They met once every week as a team all together in a weekly session run by Kevin to learn strategies and share successes. With a plan in place, Tamzin's genius led the team to follow this rhythm. She collected the successes and challenges each week, connected people who could help each other, and tracked the growth of the teams. The program began with more than 100 people and grew each week as the regular rhythm led to high energy and motivation throughout the entire network. With a focus on the tangible benefit of being a part of their network, and with a focus on individual transformation and collective collaboration, their distributors found themselves attracting friends who wanted to join the program and, in turn, join the network. Step 3. Monetize your moment. Do not get lost in the activity and what you are doing now. Do start measuring things by the sales you are expecting. Tempos like Tamzin always have a list of things to do and get caught up in that. At the end of the day, they've gone through the whole list but still haven't made any money. Monetizing her moment for Tamzin meant turning away from the to-do list and measuring everything based on her promotion. Did the promotion achieve the income they wanted and the expected result, or did she need to fine-tune what they were doing? Was she getting the best results, or did she need to change the way she was actually designing things to get a better result? In their 10-week pilot project, there were 3 things Tamzin was measuring in their network: level of engagement, new additions, and overall sales volume. Until Tamzin started measuring, they didn't feel they had much control over what they achieved each month. They just got busy and would receive a commission check each month. Now they were controlling their own measures and milestones and were far more motivated themselves, as were their leaders. Over the 10 weeks the program ran, they made sure everyone learned the 3 ways they could use their genius within their business: to manage themselves, to understand their customers, and to design their team leadership strategy. They had me share by video the 4 different strategies that fit the 4 geniuses to create a network effect, and the team responded. The Blaze geniuses created weekly gatherings that were so much fun, the whole network invited their friends, who then joined their networks based on their experience at these events. The Steel geniuses did the opposite, creating a system that distributors could follow with one-to-one meetings every day. The Dynamo genius leaders grew a uniquely different network based on adding creative content and material for their teams, whereas the Tempo genius leaders grew a very different network that was not as head in the clouds, and more ear to the ground, focusing on the success stories and word of mouth instead of new innovations. With Tamzin's Tempo genius effortlessly handling the measures, Network 21 saw sales and new registrations more than double and engagement levels increase far beyond expectation. Everyone on the team had measurable wins and shifted their focus from the closing sales mentality of orange level to the opening opportunities mentality of yellow level. The Dynamo genius path out of orange. What if you are a dynamo in a job at orange level and want to move up? That was Heather Yellen's situation when I met her in 2011. She had been working in Australia with a well-known international speaker on a contract basis to mentor leaders and corporations. But she was now ready to create something of her own. She thought it would have to be something in her area of expertise, but she didn't know exactly what. At the beginning of our mentoring, I asked her, "What would you want to be doing if you were no longer doing anything for the money?" She surprised both of us by saying, "I've always wanted to work with kids." Heather dreamed of helping children with their education, but she saw it as something that would take time and focus, so she'd parked the idea in her mind for something later in life. I asked her how she would feel if she was transforming the lives of children alongside the businesses she was working with. She smiled, and we expanded the picture to include transformational mentoring of both company leaders and the world's future leaders, our children. Now she needed a personal identity. Instead of her going out and chasing new clients, she needed to stop and build a brand around who she was and attract them to her. Step 1. Identify your identity. Do not keep on creating services or products based on your next best idea or your creative response to what each person is asking for. Do set up a clear identity for yourself that allows all your businesses, partnerships, and promotions to orbit around you. Imagine you are 5 years in the future. You have achieved your success, and someone has written your entry on Wikipedia. What would you want the first paragraph to say? All successful leaders and entrepreneurs have one-paragraph summaries of who they are and what they stand for, and knew it themselves long before they became known for it. Knowing what you stand for is like establishing your position on the field in soccer. You choose and play that position, stay in that position, and make people want to pass the ball to you. You become the opening for flow, instead of running anywhere you want to. In other words, we turn on our winning formula when we choose to start doing one thing well. Heather walked through what she intuitively did with her corporate clients to bring them the results they wanted. She didn't have a product brand for it yet, but it became clear she had a step-by-step process she followed that took her to the heart of each enterprise. What were the emotions that their cultures created in staff, partners, and customers? She would break these down and build them back up again from the heart. We came up with a brand name for this: emotional enterprise. Step 2. Master your market. Do not chase the business, constantly starting new things and knocking on doors hoping someone will buy what you're offering. Do connect with the people and partners who have models you can learn from and earn from, and get very clear on who is and is not your customer. Mastering your market is not about trying to start something new without knowing what is already out there. It is about playing the game with those already on the field. Trying to master your market while chasing the business is like chasing butterflies. You might catch one every time you hunt, but you still need to go chasing them again tomorrow. Better to grow a garden where all the butterflies come to you every day. That's the key for a dynamo: attraction. Dynamos need to use their natural creativity to focus not on what they are creating but on how they can get in front of the people who are their market from the moment they wake up. Heather had done some research on exactly this point, and was clear that she only wanted high-end corporate leaders to work within her emotional enterprise business. But what about the young people she also wanted to help? She found that while student enrichment programs were in their infancy in Asia and Australia, they had been established in the United States for a long time. I shared with Heather my experience working with Joe Chapon and Bobby DePorter on their Supercamp program, which has become the world's leading summer enrichment program with 20 years of history. Often, we will find that all our best learning to move to the next level comes from working with people who are already at that next level and learning from their models and their understanding of the market. This was true of Heather with Bobby. Supercamp programs give teenagers an immersive 7- and 10-day camp experience including life skills and accelerated learning skills. We had started running supercamps at Green School in Bali, but supercamps had not yet established a presence in Australia. Heather contacted Joe and set up a partnership to create a supercamp movement in Australia using all the tools and structures Joe and Bobby had already put in place, working with more than 1 million children all over the world. Now Heather just needed a better way to reach the market in Australia than knocking on doors. She had to think about the people who were waking up each day wanting the best for their children, and would want to come to an Australian supercamp. Where were they? Who were the people who were already out in front of them that could be her potential partners to connect with those parents? What would be the simplest and easiest way to make sure her message was in front of them? Step 3. Monetize your moment. Do not just open your doors and hope for the money to walk in. Do create promotions focused on bringing a specific amount of business in a specific time frame, with enough time to test and measure your assumptions each day, and learn your way to earn. Dynamo geniuses are always tempted to start new things without finishing the things we have started, which is why we can often fail to monetize our moments even when we have found the markets to master. We'd rather run around and create more things instead of zeroing in on very specific promotions, testing and measuring them, and finding smarter and better ways to do them. When we do that, even if we don't get the business that we want, we learn what is working and what is not. When we set a promotion, we set a destination and attract the people who want to get to that same destination. We gather the support we need with many willing to get the reward and collectively achieve the result. That is the key behind monetizing the moment, getting to the point where you can keep on improving and growing your business with a team and eventually take bigger bets on the size of the promotions that you can run and the size of the partners that you can work with. That is the really big step when we move from knowing we have positive cash coming in to constructing the market flow for our enterprises to expanding them, or moving on to other businesses. Once we learn how everything connects, we can really control the flow, a very different feeling from showing up and hoping the business comes in the door. Heather learned from the promotions that the US Supercamp team and our team in Bali were already running. She ran a scholarship promotion through parents and students, which spread virally. With education a hot topic in Australia, she established Supercamp as a solution for providing accelerated learning skills and generated media attention. That attention in turn earned her the opportunity to speak about Supercamp on stage at events and conferences. The result was that Heather attracted not only registrations for her first camp, but also clients for her emotional enterprise business. Instead of it being difficult to follow her mission and follow the money at the same time, as she had thought in the past, she now found that it was actually easier to attract business by being true to herself, and making a stand for what she believed in and the difference she wanted to make. With the added business, it has also been easier to grow the camps, with Heather's corporate connections sponsoring student scholarships. Because Heather didn't want to get stuck in the detail, she maintained the Supercamp model, adjusting it to fit the Australian market. She learned what size team she needed, what her break-even point was, and what activities she should and should not be focused on. Heather now understands what all geniuses do when they move up from orange to yellow level, once you have identified your identity and mastered your market. You are likely to find that there are ways to connect with others where you can be of value to them and learn from them without needing to work it all out yourself. Your value is someone else's leverage, so there is always a way to play with others. Spectator versus player. This book may be called Millionaire Master Plan, and indeed your goal may be to make millions. But that may not be your goal at all. Perhaps you are simply looking for peace of mind in your career or job to provide for your family without the stress of chasing every dollar. Perhaps you would be happy just having the security to know you are not dependent on the job you have. You'd be financially fine without it. This is the point of moving up the wealth lighthouse. It is not about roles like employed or self-employed, owner or investor, poor or rich. It's about having this choice and control over your financial future. This makes climbing from orange to yellow level a critical point in your climb, because you are going to not just another level but another prism. The foundation prism is where most of us reside today, but the enterprise prism is where all the money is made. That's where the real action is. Think of the difference between the foundation and enterprise prisms, between orange worker and yellow player, as a major sporting event like a soccer match. There are many, many more spectators than there are people playing the game. Those who remain spectators are like those at infrared and red levels, largely anonymous and able to come and go as they please. The game does not depend on them, and they don't have to follow many rules to be there other than not to drink too much and to stay off the field. Spectators rarely move from their seats, but they are extremely vocal. They have strong opinions on the successes and failures of the players on the field and shout their advice to the players, the referee, and anyone who will listen. If you have made it to orange level, you have earned the right to stop being a spectator and get onto the field with the players. The players are known and recognized for their overall skill and how they play their positions. They are expected to train for the game, be good at it, and follow the rules to compete. Everyone, especially the spectators, has high expectations and holds them accountable for the results of the game. If you think of orange workers as spectators in the stands, yellow players as the players on the field, and the ball as money, opportunity, or resources, you can see why no one is passing you that ball yet. You're not on the field playing the game. That is the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs and those of us in jobs at orange level. If you start a business or stay in a job to get in the game, and then just end up chasing the money, that's like a spectator running on the field trying to chase the ball. No one wants to play with you, and you never catch up with the ball anyway. So why are so many people in the world spectators rather than players in the wealth lighthouse? Because our education system has been focused on taking the step from red to orange, how to turn us from red survivors dependent on our parents or government to orange workers working hard to keep a job. Yet everyone I know at orange level is fearful they won't have an income in the future. That's the reason the positive feelings of creating value and accomplishment with your job at orange level are mixed with worry that if you lose your job it will be tough to find another one. That worry is also there if you are self-employed. You are always dependent on chasing the next contract and keeping the current ones going to maintain your cash flow. But everyone I know at yellow level, whether they are employed or self-employed, business owners or investors, has no fear of losing their incomes or their jobs. Yellow players have simply learned the essential extra skill of creating their own jobs, so they are always getting offers of employment or business. They have followed the 3 steps out of orange level and moved from dependent to independent. When you move to yellow level, you have freedom to move when you want to from one job or contract to another. You have stepped over the wall separating the stands from the field and are serious about playing the game. In other words, you no longer have to chase the soccer ball all the time even when you are on the field, because you have a team in other positions to do that. As a result, you spend less time running around and more time getting into the flow of the game and moving where you could be of most value. By being in those places, you actually get the ball passed to you more often. To do this most effectively, however, you need to choose a position, train, show up, and be accountable in a very different way than you do as just a spectator. Having a ticket and a seat is no longer enough to succeed. You have to master your part of the game, and this requires 3 important practices that run contrary to what most of us learned at school. 1. Learning comes from action. To know and not to do is not yet to know. Mastery at yellow level does not come from reading a book but from practice. The learning comes from the doing. At school, we are taught to be book smart. To be a wealth creator, you need to be street smart. Wealth creators need to do in order to know. Take action and then learn from it. That's why this book is more than a book. It is a gateway to a series of playbooks at every level that you can access and complete online to make sure you're playing the right game by the right rules. 2. Learning is a game. That means it must be fun, and you need to know the rules. Choosing the right game to play in the right position to learn in that game is essential at this point. It must be a game that naturally suits your genius so you enjoy it, and keep playing with enjoyment, because the more you play it, the better you get. 3. Success comes from effective giving. You don't score by getting the ball, you score by passing it on. Too many of us worry about passing on ideas or opportunities because we think they won't come back. Think of a baseball game where the ball gets hit into the crowd. It never comes back. But the ball always stays in play when we focus on giving. Ineffective giving is when you pass to the spectators. Effective giving is when you pass to other players on the field. Even if the competition takes it now and then, the ball stays in play, which means what you pass eventually ends up getting passed back. That's the key now that you are moving to yellow level, effective giving, being in the right place for others to pass the ball to you and for you then to pass it on. In this way, as we pass on opportunities, resources, and money, everyone on the field gets to kick the ball many times. We end up winning together. That's the fulfilling nature of flow we experience in the enterprise prism when we let go and reach yellow level instead of holding on at orange. Chapter 5 Summary. Orange level is the final foundation prism level. When you are at orange level, you are in positive cash flow but still dependent on others. To move to yellow level is moving from dependence to independence. All flow is made up of projects and processes. Projects grow or enhance flow. Processes maintain flow. All successful wealth creators in the enterprise prism have mastered how to automate or outsource their processes, so they can focus all their time on profitable projects, promotions. Your rise up the wealth lighthouse comes from the power of zero. As you move up each level of the wealth lighthouse, what feels like a little and a lot of money changes, in general by a factor of 10. Don't stretch yourself with a $10,000 promotion if you haven't yet mastered $1,000 promotions. There is a wealth equation. Wealth equals value leverage. Value exchange creates speed of money flow. Leveraging value increases volume of money flow. Between these two variables, rivers of wealth are created. There are 3 steps to yellow level. Identify your identity, master your market, monetize your moment. Orange workers are like spectators at a soccer game. There are 3 important practices allowing them to stop watching the game and move to yellow. 1. Learning comes from action. 2. Learning is a game, which means it must be fun and you need to know the rules. 3. Success comes from effective giving, passing on, not holding on. Pre-flight checklist, yellow level. Your personal page on has supplemental guides and videos, including assessments and playbooks, for each of the checklist points below. I have included one of the exercises from the playbook at the end of this chapter, the anatomy of a promotion. Being clear on your position and how you relate to your market puts you on the map. These are the steps to convert your time into money and tap into the flow of the markets. Complete the checklist now, tick yes or no. How do you rate? When all 9 are checked yes, you will have connected your personal passion and purpose to your flight path. Identify your identity. 1. I have a clear path to my ideal identity with role models to follow and a clear identity today that I can express. Yes, no. 2. I have a reputation in my niche as a distinct leader in my field who creates attraction in business and opportunities. Yes, no. 3. I have aligned all my actions, messaging, and marketing to reflect clearly my identity to my market and the world. Yes, no. Master your market. 1. I have sized my market. I know my competitors and what my unique market position and market share are and will be. Yes, no. 2. I have segmented my market and designed my time and business around the different needs of my customers. Yes, no. 3. I have systems and a rhythm that keep me close to my customers, my competitors, and the market shapers. Yes, no. Monetize your moment. 1. I have outsourced or automated all my business processes so I can focus on profitable promotions. Yes, no. 2. I have an annual schedule of promotion plans that links to my monthly profit and loss and cash flow forecasts. Yes, no. 3. I have aligned my team and partners to a weekly rhythm of results, testing, and measuring based on our promotions. Yes, no. Action point. The DNA of a great promotion. ALO promotions have the same structure and the same principles of design. From small launch promotions for new retail or service companies to online promotions and new product promotions to capital-raising promotions and multi-million-dollar property promotions, they all follow the same underlying principle, the golden thread. The following steps are a summary adapted from the Monetize Your Moment playbook you will find online. Use these steps to set up your promotion plan and golden thread. Before you begin, remember 4 things. 1. This is the 3rd step to yellow level in the Wealth Lighthouse. It presupposes each promotion is aligned to your identity and within your market. 2. Whatever your assumptions are, you will be wrong. Things will always be better or worse than you think. You will constantly be off from week to week and need to course correct. Making those simple adjustments will get you back on course, provided you are checking against your plan regularly with your team. 3. Every promotion has a plan, a profit, and a time frame and is a dance between you and your market. Every action by you leads to a reaction by your market, so you need to measure every step and adjust as necessary. Like turning on a tap, great leaders learn how to increase the amount they can generate in a promotion 10 at a time, from $1,000 to $10,000, and $10,000 to $100,000. For money to flow, they know they need to learn what the market values and ensure value trumps cost every time. 4. Your ability to attract partners and investors as you move up the wealth lighthouse will depend on your track record in setting milestones and delivering on them in your promotions. That's how you build trust within your market. And it all begins with your first promotion. Your promotion plan. Name. What is the name of your promotion? Leader. Who will lead and be responsible for this promotion? Why the purpose? Why is this promotion important now? Is it developing a new product? Is it adding new systems to the business? Is it building your brand in the market? What the objectives? Limit your key objectives to 3 areas. Financial objectives. What are the specific revenue and profit targets? Development objectives. What are the ongoing revenue streams, new products, systems, markets, or teams that will result from this promotion? Learning objectives. What new learning and expertise will you uncover? Who team members? List each person on the team and his or her area of responsibility. When time frame and milestones. Create a simple schedule of milestones from beginning to end, start date, completion date, and weekly team review date and time. How promotion strategy. What is your irresistible offer? Who is your market? What is the budget you are redirecting? What problem are you solving? Why is your solution superior? What is the urgency to buy now? What is the pain of missing out? What is your price and promotion? Promotion, your golden thread. All great promotions follow the same 7 steps with each step measurable and controllable. 1. A compelling invitation. What is it? Who will it reach? When and how? 2. Simple registration, automated, measurable, trackable. 3. A firm confirmation, building commitment, immediate payoff. 4. Thoughtful preparation, building anticipation, setting expectations. 5. High impact delivery, exceed expectations, make a new invitation. 6. Easy feedback, honest reflection. Quantifiable improvements. 7. A sincere thank you, completion of the promotion, an enchanted end. Capture each step in your promotion with your marketing material, emails, presentation material, and any documentation that you can refer back to in the future. Compare how you and your team perform at every step with best practices and the metrics in your industry. By improving the quality and flow of your interaction at every level, you can measure the impact at every step of the golden thread. Registration rate, conversion rate, engagement rate. Delivery rate, satisfaction rate, repurchase rate. Part 3. The Enterprise Prism and beyond. Level 4, yellow level, player level 5, green level, performer level 6, blue level, conductor. Mastering these levels leads to a connection to the wealth flowing through our markets, our ability to add value and leverage the value of others through businesses and assets. It isn't money that makes money. It's people who make money. And it's other people who will help you make your money. Chapter 6. From yellow to green, player to performer. Positive cash flow from mastering your market self-reliance, attraction, limitation cost of staying. Limited growth, limited impact, isolation. Rhythm and mastery. Resourcefulness, resilience, stubbornness. Establish your enterprise, refine your rhythm, synchronize your steps. Welcome to the enterprise prism, where all the money is made. You have mastered the foundation prism. Whether you are in a business, are self-employed, or hold a job, you find yourself in demand. There's money coming in and opportunities everywhere. You are a player now. You love what you do and create your own flow. As a result, you could live out your life happily on this level, but you also have earned the right to let your genius take initiative and shine even brighter. Be careful, though, yellow level can become a vortex of frustration. You can easily get stuck and achieve only a fraction of your true potential. Many find their winning formula here by putting the pedal to the metal. They believe the more they apply themselves, the more they can achieve. The result is multiple projects or businesses, all of them moving but none of them really working as well as they should. That's because they all depend on the same thing, you. And if you stop, the money stops. This is called the octopus effect. On the surface, it looks like you or your business is successful because you have money coming in and so much going on. Beneath the surface, there are many tentacles relying on one small brain, and everything sucks. Overcoming the octopus effect. The shift from this octopus-like yellow player level to green performer level does not happen by putting your foot on the accelerator. Instead, you take your foot off the accelerator, put it on the clutch, and change gears. This means doing the opposite of the winning formula that got you to yellow level. It's why green level is counterintuitive for someone at yellow, as it appears you are giving up your freedom. But this is less about freedom and more about responsibility to something greater than you. That's why it is a myth that you need to leave your job and start your own business or spend all your nights and weekends trying to invest in property or shares in order to create more wealth. If you are in a job but want to start your own path, don't see the job as a limit to the financial growth you are seeking. See it as an education in which you are getting paid. All large organizations and corporations are at green level and do not rely on any one person. The skills you learn in how to work within a team are invaluable for when you build your own organization. So you can move from orange to yellow to green level while working with others, following your genius, and avoiding the octopus. In fact, I try to make sure of it with my own team, and so do many others who know the advantages to moving their team members up the Wealth Lighthouse. For example, Suraj Naik started with me straight out of college and went from orange to yellow to green level, where he is now, leading the development of my Entrepreneurs Institute online platform, Genius U. He has a team that manages all aspects of the business while he leads them as a blaze genius. But the key moment for him was when he learned to slow down at yellow level and focus less on driving the business himself and more on dividing up the thinking and actions to create a model and rhythm where everyone on his team was empowered and responsible to do their own thing. This is a key step for a green performer. As a result, during our busiest time of the year in 2013, while we were implementing all our new systems, Suraj was still able to take a long-planned trip to Europe with his friends, jumping out of planes and returning having achieved one of his dreams, his skydiving qualification. If he had been working like an octopus, trying to manage everything by himself, he would have had more worry and less time, and that would have sucked. In truth, Suraj's example of achieving green level while working for someone else only partially underscores one of 5 myths of wealth that keep people from moving beyond yellow level. The 5 modern myths of wealth. Why do so many people seeking wealth creation get it wrong, rushing into solutions, without first mastering the skills needed? because in the last few decades, we have been taught things about wealth that are not or are no longer true. In all my mentoring of thousands of wealth creators in countries all over the world, the first challenge for most of them is unlearning the 5 biggest myths of wealth in order to ascend farther in the wealth lighthouse. 1. Wealth comes from passive income. Myth: you can get wealthy by going into debt to buy assets that will give you passive income so you no longer have to work for a living. Truth: you've just dug a hole, not a river. All income needs to be managed, which means you need to know how to manage a team and experts who can manage your portfolio of assets. Yes, building assets that create cash flow is a critical part of building your wealth. But many people have been burned by stretching their resources to buy property or other assets in the hope that they will yield ongoing passive income, only to see the value of their assets drop, their cash flow go negative, and their credit ratings ruined. Why didn't this happen to all the wealthiest people? The wealthiest people know all their assets, whether properties or business, need to be managed well. There's nothing passive about it. It might look like the apple farmer has passive income, because his apple trees keep giving him apples, but it still takes time and expertise to nurture those trees. It's the same with your assets. Choose assets with great care and factor in the true cost of choosing, managing, and selling your assets in your return. Replace the myth of passive income with the reality of portfolio income, where each of your assets is part of a portfolio managed by a team. Monitor and maintain your portfolio and the return it is giving you. 2. Wealth comes from multiple streams of income. Myth: the more income streams you can start, the wealthier you will become. Truth: starting many streams at the same time is like trying to push many balls up a hill at the same time. You may get started, but you end up losing your focus and your time. Success comes from growing teams, not streams, multiple teams of income. This myth is perhaps the most destructive in the foundation prism, but it's dangerous at any level. If everyone around you is unclear what your main focus is, what your position is, and where you stand on the field, you will constantly chase the ball instead of having it kicked to you. What people must learn by yellow level and take to green level is that money doesn't make money, people make money. Invest in the right people before investing in the assets they will manage, or you will be the one doing all the juggling, and it will only be a matter of time before you start dropping the ball. 3. Wealth comes from your exit strategy. Myth: wealth comes when you sell out. Plan an exit strategy where you can work hard now and earn the money later. Truth: keep working, because you love what you do. Don't strive to bake a pie so you can sell it. Own the bakery so you can bake as many pies as you want, sell some, and keep the rest. I have met too many people who are holding out for an exit that will make it all worth it. They don't enjoy what they are doing. They have simply talked themselves into grinning and bearing it. Until I make X dollars, or until I sell the company for X amount. Sure, we hear stories of people cashing out with big returns from their businesses or assets, but rarely do these stories involve people not passionate about what they were doing. Replace the myth of an exit strategy with a success strategy. The wealthiest people in the world are still doing what they are doing because it doesn't feel like hard work following your genius and doing what you love. As you move up to blue level, any exit strategies are not for you. They are for your project partners and investors. 4. Wealth comes from being your own boss. Myth: the path to wealth begins by being your own boss and choosing what you do and when you do it. Truth: wealth comes not from being your own boss but from choosing who your boss will be. The truth is, we all remain accountable to someone, whether it is our customers, shareholders, or teams. Being your own boss means you have just put the one person in charge of you who is the least able to hold you accountable, you. It is a lonely path. I always select the right person to lead every plan, project, and business I start, and my part in it. That means I have someone to whom I am accountable. I have the freedom to choose who is the boss of me for everything I want to be involved in. I just make sure I establish a rhythm to check in on how they are doing and what I need to do to support them that ensures I remain of service, accountable, and connected to them. 5. Wealth comes from risking it all. Myth: the hero's journey is the nature of entrepreneurship and comes from putting everything on the line for your big idea. Big risks achieve big rewards. Truth: from climbing Mount Everest to going to the moon, the most heroic journeys are the ones that minimize risk, the ones in which you progress deliberately, testing and measuring each step before you take it to stay on the path to success. There are two types of failure, those that steer you and those that sink you. Climbing the wealth lighthouse has its risks. The higher you climb, the farther you have to fall. So the higher you climb, the more you need to prepare. Replace the myth of risking it all with the reality of minimizing your risk to experience it all. Taken together, the 5 myths are a mechanical way of thinking about wealth, separating us all into paths where we're trying to do it all on our own. The truths are a more natural way in which building assets is replaced by growing flow, where we are all connected to each other and the market. In flow, everything is connected, and your role in nurturing, enhancing, and expanding the flow around you is more important than trying to work out how to make the money and exit the game. Still skeptical these are myths? Pick up any richest people list and ask yourself for each successful wealth creator on it. Are they passive in their income or very active? Are they trying to create multiple streams or do they have multiple teams creating the streams? Are they following an exit strategy or a success strategy? Are they only accountable to themselves or to others around them? Are they risking it all or taking measured risks to test and measure? Once you clear your mind of these myths, you're ready to step up and through the enterprise prism. That starts by taking the 3 steps to move up from yellow. The 3 steps from yellow to green. As we go through these steps, keep in mind 2 truths. First, you do not need to run your own business to create the necessary attraction, income, and security to move up a level. You can do it by upgrading your job. Second, if you are self-employed, you can move to green level by following the 3 steps within your existing business. Many people do find it much easier to design a new green level business alongside their yellow level business. But you can use your Superman time to build a green level team in your own business, while you keep the cash flowing at yellow with your Clark Kent time. The following stories have examples of these choices. But remember, this is a choice now. You may be at yellow level and be quite happy running a small business with the freedom to do what you want when you want. That's okay. But if you find it more appealing to have a company that works without you, and eventually to have teams managing your multiple streams of income, you will need to follow these 3 steps to green level. 1. Establish your enterprise. Yellow players identify their identities by creating businesses that revolve around their geniuses. Green performers establish their enterprise by creating businesses that can work without them. Your businesses must have different financial models that can afford strong leadership teams. They must have their own missions and models that do not need to include you, with a schedule of multiple promotions that your teams can manage. 2. Refine your rhythm. The freedom you had to do what you want when you wanted at yellow level changes to a pre-organized rhythm that everyone can follow at green. In other words, you move from lead guitar to drummer, where you improvise less and instead set the rhythm for the team and create a level of trust and communication that every high-performing team needs. This means scheduling the year ahead of time. Milestones, measures, and meetings are set to review and renew. There is a rhythm to how you review and renew everything from your overall strategy to your promotions, policies, and operations. This is summarized at the end of this chapter, and in detail in Refine Your Rhythm Playbook in 3. Synchronize your steps. Yellow players can make it up as they go. Green performers need to plan ahead of time, all people doing one thing instead of one person doing all things. You synchronize the steps the team takes with this season's It needs to navigate from the growth of spring to winter, when everything changes and slows before moving toward renewal. Each genius has a different way to create value and leverage the value of others through these steps. Read Scott Picken's Blaze Path first, where I cover the 3 big excuses that stop every genius from moving up to green level and go into greater detail on how the 3 steps overcome those excuses. Then go ahead and read your own genius path, but do study the others to understand how other geniuses on the teams you build need to think. The Blaze Path from Yellow to Green. Scott Picken is a South African entrepreneur based in Cape Town. He has been the South African representative for Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes's business breakthroughs and built an international property business investing in Australian property. When I met Scott several years ago, he took the wealth spectrum test and came out at yellow level. "I've had enough of doing it myself," he said. "Show me how to move up to green level." I became Scott's mentor, but before I could help him take the 3 steps up, I needed to confront the excuses that he and every yellow level player make that stop them from climbing farther in the wealth lighthouse. I can't find people who can do it like me. Used by yellow level. Leaders who convince themselves that only they can get the job done, because they have not invested the time to ensure new leaders succeed. I can't afford good people. Used when yellow-level entrepreneurs have not invested the time to create a financial model enabling them to afford good leadership. Even if they could find good people, they couldn't afford to bring them on. I'm too busy to find and train the right people. Used by yellow-level players who have no time because they have designed a world that revolves around their own importance. The only constant is busyness. I gave Scott these 3 excuses and asked him which one applied to him. Scott laughed and said, "All 3. As I've said before, we stay at any level because there's something we're not prepared to let go of to move up." I asked Scott if he was ready to give up the one thing that he valued most that had gotten him to yellow level. Scott asked what that was, and I replied, "Freedom." At yellow level, we love being free to change our minds and do what we want, when we want. Yellow level is all about you being in the limelight and being significant. The idea of having to report into your business with more discipline and to keep to a plan and schedule feels like a step backward. But without a rhythm that allows a team to get into harmony and high performance, you'll never set the team up for success. Green level is all about you supporting your team to be significant. It's about empowering others to worry about your business even more than you do. Once you have earned the right to a higher level of freedom in the enterprise prism, blue level, where you have multiple teams and multiple streams, you'll get your freedom back with a far higher level of flow attached to it. Scott heard me and made the commitment to confront all of his excuses. His first excuse came because he had designed his business to work around him, without clear, documented roles, expectations, or measures that someone else could assume. It was impossible for someone else to come in and take over his role. To overcome this hurdle, we broke down his role into a number of jobs that he could find people to do better than he could. Then we created a new niche that would attract people to his business instead of to him, which I'll cover shortly. His second excuse came because he had designed a cost model that earned him a living but had no margin and budget for leadership. We redesigned his business model so there was enough money to pay for good people. His third excuse came because he had designed his time so he had none left to train others even if he wanted to. We redesigned his schedule so he could have time with his family and to travel, while growing his business. Within 12 months, Scott went from struggling with 3 badly run businesses to one multi-million-dollar business run well. He knew he needed to change, and he did so by following his Blaze Genius path from yellow to green level. Step 1. Establish your enterprise. Do not keep up the excuses that you are the only one who can lead the business and continue to come up with strategies that only you can execute. Do establish your enterprise revolving around a team with strong leaders and the other 3 geniuses developing the overall strategy, standards, policies, processes, and financial management, while you lead from the front, using your genius to shine a light on the success of your team. The first step for Blazes at green level is to give their enterprises a stronger identity than themselves and get clear about what size of flow they plan to see 3 years from now. What market position? How many customers? What revenue and profit? What value will it deliver customers? What market value will the company have? What size and quality team? What financial systems do you need? What culture, service, training, partnerships, and communications? The next step is to set up the projects to support that flow. This sounds overwhelming at yellow level. You are used to working everything out yourself. But at green level, you have a team to deal with the answers. For Scott, we began by rethinking his entire market. Blaze geniuses have a tendency to be distracted by new opportunities and relationships that come their way. To move to green, Scott redirected this Blaze energy internally to focus first on his best customers, his team, and a plan. He began by evaluating what would be the most attractive country to be investing in. Many of Scott's clients had stopped investing with him when the Australian property market stalled. Scott went back to the top 5% of his clients and asked them what their criteria would be to make them reinvest with him. He compared that with different property markets around the world and decided to focus on the US market. Scott then designed a business model that would allow him to pay for a leadership team, property partners in the United States, and a sales team in South Africa. From day one, he would have a model that could work without him. Step 2. Refine your rhythm. Do not work within your own time frame, operating your business and your life without a clear, proactive schedule of promotions. Do set a rhythm that empowers the team, keeps you in check, and manages you as much as it manages the business. Once Scott had set the new direction for his company, he set up a plan for how much of his time he would be in South Africa and how much in the United States, worked out who he needed on his team, and determined how they would all measure their success. By his first visit to the United States, he already had soft commitments from clients on what they would be willing to invest in. That helped him narrow down to the right partners there who could locate the investment properties for him. Just 6 months after starting this process, using his Blaze connecting ability but letting the team do the other work, he had his first deals completed. The team then took the company's goals for the year and turned them into promotions, with a number of investor conferences in South Africa and a number of investor trips to the United States. Not Scott, the team. Like most Blaze geniuses, Scott will always be overly optimistic on what people can achieve, which is great to inspire them short-term but not so good in motivating them long-term if the targets are unrealistic. When Scott took his Blaze genius out of the equation, the team reset their targets based on what they could confidently stretch to achieve rather than what Scott wanted them to achieve. The result? The team found new, more innovative ways to reach their sales targets that worked for each of their geniuses, and they stepped up to take on system development and financial management roles that Scott had been struggling with on his own. Having been given more authority to drive things at their pace, team members went out of their way to find ways to free Scott's time up so he could spend his time connecting with their top clients and staying in his flow. The team now had a rhythm, a new pace and clarity, which led to Step 3. Step 3. Synchronize your steps. Do not keep pushing things at your pace regardless of the market conditions or state of your team. Do align your team and your plan with the rhythm of the markets and of your industry, pacing your growth to synchronize with the flow of the markets, industry, and activities of your partners. With a new focus, new business model, and motivated team, Scott began building his leadership and sales teams to manage the flow that had now started. He designed the yearly cycle of the business to synchronize with the seasonal shifts in the markets. He worked out who was needed for the different positions in the business and the strengths they would need. He designed his own time so that he could be in the business at the critical moments when he was most needed. The team then planned the timing of their U.S. trips to coincide with most investors' availability to travel and set their conference schedules to maximize attendance. They developed partnerships in South Africa and the United States to support their marketing and the quality of property investments they made available to their clients. This allowed them to focus on being able to test and measure the most effective ways to match the right clients to the right investments. In the meantime, Scott was freed up to stay in his flow, investing his time with their top clients and generating more income for the company and more cash flow for himself, while the team ran the company. It wasn't long before the flow grew far beyond what Scott had been achieving with the Australian market. A year after confronting all his excuses, Scott was growing a new business in a new country, beating his own sales targets, and energizing an entirely fresh base of investors in South Africa with business growing rapidly just by word of mouth. Most important, he was taking actions where he felt in control of the results, and no longer needed to chase the business in order to grow it. The tempo path from yellow to green. While Blaze geniuses should take roles within their businesses that bring out their strengths in communication and marketing to others, tempo geniuses get into their flow fastest when taking roles in service or trading. That means they are looking for others to lead the business while they keep their ear to the ground. This is exactly what my wife, Renata, did in her business as we increased our cash flow and moved into yellow-level promotions. We had moved from $6,400 to $12,800 in positive cash flow by setting up a holding company that billed each of our businesses for our services. This helped Renata, a self-employed real estate agent, as her commissions came in irregularly. By billing expat rentals for her time each month, she turned cash flow from a personal problem into a business problem, where she could focus on making the sales to cover overheads. To get us to green level, I moved first in my publishing and conference businesses, organizing my companies to work without me. Renata was next, first with expat rentals in Singapore, and then with Vision Villas in Bali. Here's what Renata stopped and started doing to move her business to green. Step 1. Establish your enterprise. Do not get so busy with day-to-day activity that you can't set aside the time to assemble the team and set a higher mission and stronger model for your business. Do use your sensory skills to select the right Blaze genius to take on communications and marketing, a Dynamo genius to create the strategy, and the right Steel genius to manage the financials of your business with you keeping things balanced. To move from yellow to green levels requires your business to have more attraction than you do. Your company also needs to be number one in something, and if it isn't yet big enough to be number one, narrow your niche until it can be. Renata set a focus for expat rentals to have a niche in rentals of $3,000 and above, which was the high-end market in Singapore. With attraction in her niche marketplace growing from both agents who co-brokered with her and from clients who found us through my publishing company's sister publication, Expat Living, Renata attracted two very capable managers from friends she met through her mom's network. This is the strength of tempo geniuses. They are great at building strong relationships. Deborah Law became the general manager of Expat Rentals, and Rebecca Bissett became the editor and publisher of the magazine Expat Living. By the time we moved from Singapore to Bali, both Rebecca and Deborah were leading the two companies profitably. Today the two companies continue to grow in Singapore. In the meantime, with Expat Rentals moving from yellow to green level, Renata had time to build another business that suited her strengths. When we moved to Bali and found our dream resort, Renata took the reins in leading the management of the staff. First, she established our enterprise with a unique identity. Vision Villas. The resort would become a social enterprise connected to the John Fawcett Foundation, which was giving cataract surgeries to Balinese to restore their eyesight. As a workshop retreat, Vision Villas became a place to get vision and Give vision. This focus on personal and leadership development made it stand out against the many other resorts on the island. Renata now focused on the resort's next step. Step 2. Refine your rhythm. Do not get so caught up in your daily routine that you fail to set a long-term rhythm for your team or set a strategy that allows the team to support and grow the business. Do treat your position within your enterprise as one part to play. Be ruthless in saying no to the things you're not so strong at and yes to delivering the service standards, maintaining the culture, and keeping the balance within the company. Yellow players tend to create complex businesses that revolve around their unique abilities. Moving to green level means simplifying the business model so it is easier for leaders who are familiar with that model to run it. That was the case with our resort, and as I mentioned earlier, Renata used her experience from a previous job, working as part of a team in a green level environment of a hospital from our days in London, to set her up for success. Once Renata focused on how we would deliver our services, we set up a series of promotions to fill the resort, giving ourselves the comfort that we would have the cash flow when we opened. We then hired managers far more experienced than either of us who knew how to run resorts, starting with a general manager, Wayan Swarma, who in turn hired his finance head, operations head, and front office head. They in turn hired the rest of the staff. Renata then set a weekly schedule where she could check on the details, the tempo's strength, while letting the team run and grow the resort. This led to her third step. Step 3. Synchronize your steps. Do not get caught up in the day-to-day where you are spending most of your time being reactive to the things around you and changing plans as you go. Do take the time to set a strategy and pace so that you are always one step ahead and able to make the most of the market trends. Without synchronizing your steps, your business cannot surf with the wave of the market. But tempo geniuses should not be leading the strategy of a business. That is not their strength. Having others set the strategy that you can push back on, question, and fine-tune is a far more effective path forward for your genius and the entire team. This allows you to use your sensory acuity to tune into a clear plan that links your business to the market. Both Renata's businesses evolved as the market evolved. As more expats began buying property in Singapore, Expat Rentals became Expat Realtor and extended its reach from rentals to sales. As the entrepreneur market grew, Vision Villas evolved from a workshop retreat to an entrepreneur resort running one-month accelerator programs for entrepreneurs. The most important part of doing this goes beyond green. Yellow-level businesses cannot be easily sold, as they are dependent on the player. Green-level businesses build capital value, which means you can sell part or all of the business when and if needed. Understanding this is to understand how assets grow, and how they are bought and sold, and it moves you to blue level and beyond. By taking this interest in the ebb and flow of the market, with the skill of knowing how to build and grow a team, Renata and I learned together in our businesses the importance of synchronizing our steps. Too often, one partner would evolve, leaving the other behind. By growing together through our own geniuses, we understood each other's journey and how to weather the changes and challenges together. As I have said earlier, moving up the spectrum doesn't solve all your problems. Renata and I still have challenges. Scott still has challenges. But as you rise up the levels, these bigger challenges come with more resources to address them. As you rise up each level, you also spot more resources so you don't get stuck waiting for what you don't have. You become more resourceful. The steel path from yellow to green. At some point, being a yellow player is simply not enough, especially if the industry you are in is changing. When I met Von Claire, he was near the end of the line in his business. He had spent his life installing complicated point-of-sale systems in large companies, first in a job and then on his own through contract work. When I met him in 2012, his last contract, with the Australia Post, was coming to an end, as was the entire industry he'd devoted his life to. He had made it as a high-paid consultant, but the large contracts were a thing of the past. companies were shifting away from developing their own complicated technology for services they could rent from the cloud. When I began to mentor Vaughn, he had fallen from yellow level, where the business had come to him, back down to orange level. At orange level you are a worker, chasing the same jobs as everyone else. You have lost your personal brand and identity, the one that moves people to seek you out for what you uniquely offer. Vaughn knew it was time to make a change and needed an answer. But how does a steel genius shift to green performer if he is not naturally the strongest at coming up with innovative new business ideas? Not by trying to be a dynamo genius like me, but by following the same 3 steps in his own natural way. Step 1. Establish your enterprise. Do not get caught up in your need for things to be perfect before you begin. And don't try to control all aspects of your business, holding on to the old and preventing growth. Do seek out business models that resonate with you, that are generating the revenues and market flow that allow you to add value through your eye for detail and ability to analyze and systematize. When I took Vaughn through his future vision and gave him a chance to consider what his future self would look like, what excited him most was the new wave in mobile payments. Until he focused in this way, he had seen the mobile payment wave as a threat to the expertise he had built. It made him fearful instead of excited. The idea that he could actually be a leader in this new wave was a new one, and transformed his energy. Vaughn created the picture of the ideal company he wanted to be a part of, a leader in the new mobile payment field. He established his enterprise, and then instead of just starting it himself, he thought of how to position himself to be an ideal fit for such a business. He didn't want to be the one leading the company. He wanted to be the technology and operations expert inside it. Vaughn set himself up as a leading learner in mobile payments. There was a time in the past when everyone was looking for a teaching teacher, someone who was an expert in the field with knowledge to share. Today, a teaching teacher is no longer good enough. Relying on past knowledge makes you out of date and out of touch. Everyone is now looking for leading learners, who are at the leading edge of their fields. He set up social media accounts and started a blog on the latest news on mobile payments. He set up an email newsletter that he shared with those who were interested. Momentum grew, and people in the field who found Vaughn's newsletter and blog interesting passed it on to others. It took less than 6 weeks of this new identity, sharing what he was learning, before Black Label Solutions, a leader in the new mobile payments systems that retailers were looking for in Australia, approached him. They found Vaughn's knowledge interesting and wanted him to work for them on their new mobile payment solution. The company matched Vaughn's ideal picture of the company he wanted to be a part of. He joined their team as their chief technology officer. Through this move, he immediately found himself with his dream enterprise without needing to go through all the effort to set it up. Step 2. Refine your rhythm. Do not get stuck overanalyzing, needing all the answers before acting, or making judgments alone rather than as part of a high-performing team. Do use your eye for detail to set a schedule that you and your team can follow with a rhythm to grow the business in which each person is empowered in his or her role, while you maintain control of the measures. Vaughn had started with a rhythm of his own blogs and newsletter, but once he took on the role as CTO, he supported his Dynamo Genius CEO by setting the rhythm, measures, and metrics that allowed the business to grow effectively. Vaughn set policies and processes for the different areas of the business. By setting himself up as a leading learner and maintaining that as a CTO, he stayed up to date with all the cutting-edge business models that the mobile payment companies were using in the United States and Europe. That way, he did not have to work things out from scratch but could draw on best practices that already existed in the new industry. The company went on to win a big contract to provide its mobile payment solution to the retail clients of one of Australia's leading banks. This led to a rapid growth path where reliable delivery is key and steel geniuses excel. Step 3. Synchronize your steps. Do not become too internally focused. where you are spending all your time reviewing your own measures and performance. Do leverage your time to look externally and connect the flow of your business to the flow of the market. Steel geniuses are often the best at securing financing, as they can present numbers and details credibly to potential financiers. This was perfect for Vaughn, his final step out of yellow level, and the next step for Black Label Solutions was raising the money to continue with the firm's rapid growth. Vaughn took the lead role on the financing, but mobile payments and raising capital for high-tech startups were both in their infancy in Australia. The angel investment and venture capital industry was in its winter season, not the best time to plant seeds. He looked to overseas markets for funding. He connected with investors in Europe and the United States who were already investing in the mobile payment market, where the industry was in its spring season. This led to an increase in the profile of both the company as well as Vaughn's standing in the industry on the global stage. As Vaughn learned, improvements in communication and collaboration make it easier to start a global business than a local business today. You don't need to be stuck in the season of your local market. There is someone, somewhere in the world, that you can learn from and earn with who is in the season that suits your business and your genius. Vaughn now has big prospects in a fast-growing industry, working in an entrepreneurial team without having to start his own business. He did it all by switching his focus from what opportunities he should chase to setting himself up with an attractive identity he was passionate about, so opportunities would chase him. The dynamo path from yellow to green. Matt Riemann runs a successful physiotherapy, massage, and fitness business, Body Elite Management. He was always busy with clients and had spent years trying to work on his business instead of in his business. Nothing had worked. Everyone came to his clinic to see him, and he hadn't been able to find the time to step out of the day-to-day work for some Superman time without sales taking a big drop. How could he move from yellow to green? How do you change the wheels on a moving bus? I began mentoring Matt, and together we listed his 3 biggest obstacles. 1. The clinic needed him to be working all hours to pay the bills, so he didn't have the time to be thinking strategically. 2. The clients all wanted him, so even though he had multiple physiotherapists and massage therapists, he was always busier than they were. 3. His team wasn't experienced at management, so he was unsure how much he could rely on them to take on more or whether he should bring in a general manager. Everyone, from your customers to your team and partners, falls into the habits and expectations you set for them. By following the 3 steps out of yellow, Matt transformed his business. In less than 12 months he was able to spend most of his time away from the company, while the business became far more profitable. Step 1. Establish your enterprise. Do not stay trapped in a space where everything relies on you and where you are always the first to act to drive things forward at your pace, leaving everyone behind. Do change the focus from you to the enterprise, where your enterprise has a stronger brand and more attraction than you do, and your team is empowered to act and move things forward without you. We started with Matt's future vision and the life he wanted to live. He wanted multiple businesses, more time for adventure, and to be a leader in cutting-edge health and wellness at the global level. We then set his company's unique niche, a leader in sports fitness. His biggest clients, we found, were sports teams that sent all their players to him. By knowing his niche, how could he focus his marketing towards sports teams? How could he package his products so he was the #1 choice for all sports teams in the region? We set Matt's personal targets of how much time he would be serving clients and the financial targets for the company. Next, we created a green level model for the company in which Matt would charge a much higher rate for his own time than that of his assistant therapists. That way he could be earning more in less time and set a career path for his therapists in which they could see that they could earn as much as Matt once they stepped up to his level. His therapists immediately became far more motivated, they could see how to earn more by increasing their skill levels and client base. They now had an incentive to work Matt out of his role, not leave him for another business. Matt's biggest worry had been what his clients would think about paying more for his time. When he announced the new fee structure, he was surprised to hear many of them say, "It's about time. If you're already too busy with too many clients, your clients already know you're charging too little." Within 3 months, Matt was working with clients 2 days a week, and the company had higher revenues and profits than ever before. The extra time also helped Matt address the problem of therapists being trained and leaving by turning it into an opportunity. He set up a massage school and physiotherapy academy, providing on-the-job career training for new therapists with a trainee charge for clients. This gave him a flow of new therapists that also became a profit center instead of a cost. Even if all the therapists left, he would still be making a profit and not need to go back to working 5 days a week. As it turned out, with this new career path in his clinic, the therapists wanted a permanent position after training, and he got to choose from the ones who performed best. Step 2. Refine your rhythm. Do not keep coming up with new ideas to innovate your way forward, implementing these ideas as soon as you think of them and changing things on the fly. Do work with your team, especially your tempo and steel geniuses, to set a rhythm that everyone can follow. Be sure everyone knows when you are reviewing and renewing strategy, roles, promotions, milestones, measures, and daily performance. Now that Matt had a team, he had the time to put his creativity to work to solve his remaining problems one by one and work on the strategy of the business. Within 6 months, Matt had set up a loyalty program, designed new customer service processes, and created a vision and culture for the team. With new strategies in place, it was time to empower the team, beginning with a team meeting to share his vision. Matt had never shared his strategy on the business with his team before. What would they think? As with all steps from one level to the next, our biggest anxieties come when we are unsure if the people around us will support us in moving up a level. What if people won't pay extra to see me? What if my team thinks I'm just trying to do less work? What if they think I'm taking my business too seriously? As you might have guessed, the first meeting, in Matt's words, didn't go well. He tried to explain the company's strategy, got blank looks, and halfway through changed the purpose of the meeting into a friendly get-together. That's when we had a long talk about the power of why. Matt needed to share his dream for the company and attract team members to the dream. He needed to capture why he wanted to share leadership with them, and what that meant in terms of extra responsibility. Matt called the team together again a few weeks later and asked who was up for playing a bigger game. He was surprised to find many on the team inspired by his vision and ready to step up. Over the next 3 months, the team put a rhythm in place that allowed them to monitor their roles and the performance of the company. Matt visited Bali with his entire team recently after their most successful year ever. We noted how he had upgraded one of the perks of yellow level to the similar perk at green level. Step 3. Synchronize your steps. Do not become too internally focused, spending all your time reviewing your own measures and performance. Do leverage your time to look externally and connect the flow of your business to the flow of the market. The third step at every level turns on the flow. To get to yellow level, you monetized your moment, predicted your cash flow through a promotion, and then tested and measured your way to success. At green level, synchronizing your steps is about timing your promotions for maximum effect. With the time that Matt now had to look externally, he found himself getting more excited about the pioneering work taking place in future medicine and personalized health. Because his business was now able to sustain itself profitably at green level, within a year of being stuck there, Matt now had the time and money to pursue a new venture, which is what dynamo geniuses love to do. He connected with pioneers in the latest medical technology and personalized medicine spaces, became a known entity at important international conferences, including presenting at Future Med in Silicon Valley, and has since been invited to speak to the UN and advise the U.S. military on personalized health. He is now working on a groundbreaking mobile DNA and body type analyzer with leading industry experts, fully in his flow and pursuing his life mission of a pain-free world. 3 ways to play from yellow to green. As is frequently the case with people trying to move out of yellow level, the biggest questions I got from the people I just discussed involved cost. How do you manage the cost of a promotion if the biggest cost is people? How can you find the right people at the right level to manage your company? The answer is that there are 3 ways you can work with people, depending on the way you set up your partnerships and agreements. Remember the wealth equation we discussed in the last chapter. Wealth equals value leverage. When you build your partnerships, they will fit into one of these 3 variables in the equation. How you set your agreements up creates a different challenge you need to overcome. CBP. Having cost-based people means you hire them and have to pay them. This is the traditional way we think about employment. In the equation, a cost-based person is someone who you think will add value to the team, but that means you need to add the leverage and work out how to make the extra money to pay for them. When you are getting started at yellow level, you want to minimize the cost-based people in your promotions. Usually, cost-based people are in the foundation prism, expecting wages or payment for a contract based on delivering value through an activity or deliverable. You, however, need to run faster to make the money by leveraging that value. RBP. Having revenue-based people means you partner with a person or company that is likely already at yellow or green level. They are willing to work on a promotion in return for a share of the revenues. They know how to leverage your value and don't cost you anything unless they or the promotion have delivered the sales. All marketing and affiliate partnerships work this way. Most distributors and retailers and all sale or return partnerships work this way. Scott had revenue-based people as sales and marketing partners, and Renata had them as real estate agents. This allowed them to grow without adding to overhead. The challenge is that you need to make sure you are building the value they can leverage. That means improving your brand or product so the best players in the market would rather partner with you than anyone else. PBP. As you move up the wealth spectrum, you look for profit-based people to join your team. These are people who know how to run a profitable promotion, hire the right team, and reach revenue targets. These are leaders who have had experience in both adding value and leveraging that value. The problem is, most of these people are either running their own businesses already, or are green performers working in companies that pay them more than you can afford. Using the wealth equation, the way to attract and keep profit-based people is by building your wealth as they build the value and leverage. Remember, wealth isn't how much money you have. Wealth is what you're left with if you lose all your money. Wealth is your track record, connections, momentum, access to resources, and personal brand in the market. This is the reason that moving up the wealth lighthouse is so important. You need to earn the right before you can attract the people you want at the right level. Orange level workers haven't yet earned the right to attract revenue-based players and profit-based performers. Yellow level players have earned the right to attract other revenue-based players but not profit-based performers. Green level performers have earned the right to attract the best revenue-based players and cost-based workers to work with, and blue level conductors have earned the right to attract profit-based performers to manage the healthy flow of their investments and enterprises for them. This is the key to ongoing financial freedom. You need multiple teams to manage multiple streams. How about you? Are you currently working as a cost-based person? Or have you upgraded yourself to revenue-based with promotions where you are sharing in the risk and the reward with other partners? Or are you already capable of operating as a profit-based person where you can offer your value to a green performer or blue conductor to generate profit for them and share in the reward? Whoever you are, Be sure you remember your path and are in a business that works for your genius. Each of the 4 geniuses has a different path out of yellow level, but they also have a different type of business that they find greatest success in. The 4 types of business. Too many people end up stuck and unhappy in yellow level or failing in a business completely because they blindly followed a formula that worked for someone else, but will not work naturally for them. All businesses and investments fall into one of 4 different types: product-based, market-based, location-based, and transaction-based. These create an ecosystem within an industry, and as the seasons of that industry change, the power moves from one type of business to another. While you can be a great leader in any type of business, each of these businesses is best suited to one of the 4 geniuses. To understand what I mean, consider my own industry, the personal and professional development industry, starting with my own genius. Dynamo businesses are product-based. In the spring season of any industry, it is the people and companies with new and innovative products that are in the driver's seat. For these businesses, the key metrics are based on how many products they intend to sell and how much people will be buying the products for. At the beginning of the personal development industry, it was those with the content, first Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie, and later Tony Robbins and Stephen Covey, who commanded the highest fees and led the market. These are all dynamo geniuses running product-based businesses. Dynamo geniuses come alive when leading startups and in creative, fast-changing enterprises. When in a product-based business, they really shine. When they partner up with market-based businesses and outsource to the other 2 types of business, their business grows even more rapidly as they have the right infrastructure in place to support their growth. Blaze businesses are market-based. In the summer season of an industry, the point of power moves from product-based businesses to market-based businesses. When there is so much choice of products out there, people would prefer to gather around like-minded people in communities where they can hear about the latest and best products. Thus, a market-based business is one whose key metrics are not based on how many products you sell, but on how many customers you have and the lifetime value of all the products and services you provide to each. As the personal and professional development industry moved to summer season, it was the entrepreneur networks and event organizers who could take their pick of the content creators. Blaze geniuses thrive in summer, as they are always at their best with their team and connecting to customers. They want to know what their customers want, then they seek out the product-based business partners that can provide it. They also look for the right location-based businesses to align themselves with, so they can change venues when they need to and when the crowds get bigger. If you are a Blaze genius, you can be of great value to any business when connecting to and leading people. But when you lead your own market-based business, in which you are focused on how to build the lifetime value for and monthly revenues from each customer, that's when you'll shine brightest. Tempo businesses are location-based. In the autumn season of an industry, the wave moves from market-based businesses to location-based businesses. This is when there are many communities consuming many products, and they all seek a home. There are enough market-based businesses to support a location, be it a marketplace, shopping mall, or, in the case of the personal development industry, hotel venues and conference halls. A location-based business is one whose key metrics are not how many customers you have, but what capacity of your location assets you are utilizing. In the hotel industry, this is your occupancy rate. In the retail industry, this is your yield per square meter or square feet. The more market-based businesses you can attract, the more you can increase your capacity. The people who have the best venues make the money. When I saw the personal and professional development industry move into autumn, we set up our Bali resort to be a venue for entrepreneurship and leadership development. We attracted other event organizers and could bring down the cost of our own events, as we owned the resort. Now we are planning to open more entrepreneur resorts around the world to support entrepreneurs setting up global businesses so they can work from anywhere and learn from everywhere. Tempo geniuses like Renata are perfect here as they are at their best when they are in constant activity, using their sensory awareness to serve. Whether that is in a restaurant, hospital, or stock market trading floor, tempo geniuses get in their flow when they are on location. If you are a tempo genius, you keep your team grounded regardless of the industry, but when you are in the center of a location-based environment, you really shine. Steel businesses are transaction-based. In the winter of an industry, the wave moves from location-based businesses to transaction-based businesses. This is when everyone is in the market. They know the products, they have their communities, they have their meeting places, and everyone is looking for efficiencies and lower prices. This is when the wave moves to transaction-based businesses that have created systems to increase efficiencies, increase speed, and reduce costs. Transaction-based businesses, whether delivery companies like UPS or online firms such as Google, make their money by taking a percentage of every transaction. Their key metrics are the number of transactions and the amount they make on each regardless of the products, companies, or locations they are connecting. The personal and professional development industry is moving into the winter, as customers know they can access any message directly from a blog, YouTube, a book, or a podcast. Everyone is looking for smarter, simpler ways to access the advice they need when they need it. This book and our online learning platform, Genius U, are serving this shift and the need we all have today to clear through all the information to get to the direction. If you are a steel genius, you can add value to any team through your attention to detail. But when you step into a transaction-based business, you reach your success fastest. Finally, remember, spirit organizations are contribution-based. While all four geniuses have a natural way to create wealth most effectively, as you raise your spirit and wealth and grow your ability to create wealth, you grow your ability to contribute wealth. All of us have the power to begin contributing today. John D. Rockefeller began by giving 10% of the money he made as he earned it, and continued growing that habit until he devoted his life to philanthropy. But you don't need to be a Rockefeller to automatically give some of what you get, and create a river with a purposeful downstream. Remember, the more you contribute to that stream, the more you attract in return. Chapter 6 Summary. Yellow level is the first enterprise prism level, where everything relies on you. Yellow level gives you freedom to be self-employed, but you need to keep showing up to keep the money flowing. At green level you have businesses that can work without you. You can move out of yellow by following these 3 steps. Establish your enterprise, refine your rhythm, synchronize your steps. Geniuses have a different strategy for these 3 steps that allows them to use their genius with a team of geniuses to support them. There are 3 excuses that stop us from moving from yellow to green. I can't find people who can do it like me, I can't afford good people, and I'm too busy to find and train the right people. You can spend your life at yellow level and keep your time freedom, but when you choose to move up, you master managing teams and types of people and eventually create multiple streams. There are 4 different types of business that suit the 4 geniuses: product-based, market-based, location-based, and transaction-based. All industries include all 4 types of business that rise and fall with the season of the industry. Pre-flight checklist, green level. Are you ready to move from yellow to green level and reclaim your time? As with the other levels, your personal page on www. has assessments and playbooks for each of the checklist points below. The exercise I have included here is adapted from the playbook and covers how to refine the rhythm of your business to suit the 5 genius frequencies. You can find the complete version online. Complete the checklist now, tick yes or no. How do you rate? Then get to work on shifting each no to a yes. Establish your enterprise. 1. We have a compelling and unique enterprise promise that yes-no creates attraction of customers and resources. 2. We have a business model that affords a leadership team and a team charter with a clear flight path for the team. Yes, no. 3. I have selected and empowered a leadership team to lead the company with clear milestones and financial targets. Yes, no. Refine your rhythm. 1. We have an annual rhythm of review and renew for our plan, promotions, projects, and processes. Yes, no. 2. I have a rhythm that keeps me in flow while the team has a weekly and daily rhythm that keeps each member in flow. Yes, no. 3. We have a flight deck with all measures and milestones, and we have a system to keep us on our flight path. Yes, no. Synchronize your steps. 1. We have an understanding of our profiles and strengths and have fit our positions to our profiles to stay in flow. Yes, no. 2. We are aware of the stage of enterprise we are in, and we are keeping to a frequency of action that suits the stage. Yes, no. 3. We are aware of the stages of our industry and are managing our expectations and promotions based on the season. Yes, no. Action point. Refining your rhythm to suit your genius. People at yellow level often take pride in their freedom to do what they want when they want. That's why most yellow level players cannot build an enterprise without it growing into chaos. Your enterprise only gets into flow through a rhythm of manage and measure, review and renew. When do you meet each week to review your key metrics? When do you meet every month to review your financials? How do you connect every quarter to review your team and projects, and every year to renew your strategy? Yellow level players often change strategy far too often while they fail to review key metrics often enough to keep the heartbeat of the enterprise in rhythm. When you think of each of the 5 geniuses as elements, and each of the elements as 5 frequencies, you can create a rhythm where your entire business can get into flow. Enterprise promise, the why? Your enterprise promise is your true north. Every action and every plan in the business points toward it. All frequencies have a time at which to renew and a time at which to review. The enterprise promise is never renewed, and it is reviewed annually. What is your enterprise promise in one sentence? How well have you been fulfilling this promise? How will you fulfill it in the year ahead? Set a time to answer these questions and review the promise annually when you bring everyone together to align to your mission. Don't make sudden changes that others cannot follow midway through the year. Hold off those big strategic decisions until your annual review. Your enterprise promise is like your company's DNA. So if you come up with a different enterprise promise, it's better to start an entirely new business with a new DNA. Team charter, the what? Many companies have 5-year plans or annual plans that no one looks at. The truth is, the world is changing much faster than it used to, and the people who can most easily keep the business on course are the ones on the front line. By giving everyone a chance to check in every 3 months on what is being achieved to fulfill your why, everyone has a chance to course correct for the coming quarter. Checking in less frequently and changing direction more often both lead to the wrong frequency, out of tune with the rhythm of the team. Your team charter is renewed annually and reviewed quarterly. What is your team charter for the coming year? Set a plan with your team for what will be achieved before deciding on who will do it. Once you have set your plan at the annual retreat, set quarterly reviews where the team meets for a day at the end of every quarter to review how you are doing against plan. Personal compass, the who? Someone owns each promotion and every process in a company. That means everyone on the team has both milestones and measures they are responsible for. The personal compass we use is like a job description. But most job descriptions are not written by the people doing the job and are only checked when someone is hired instead of being used as a compass to keep them on track. Have your staff members empower themselves with their own personal compass. Give them responsibility not for a task or a function, but for a promotion they can lead. Your personal compass is renewed quarterly and reviewed monthly. The members on our team have a personal compass that they write themselves based on their roles and responsibilities in the team charter. This is reviewed every month in a personal review session and renewed once every quarter at our quarterly team meetings. As team members look at how they are doing in their milestones and measures, they come up with their own solutions to keep themselves on track and keep playing their part in the team charter. If they think the milestones and measures in the team charter need to change, they can make changes with the team. This rhythm keeps everyone empowered and takes the pressure off you to be making all the decisions as the team grows. Project and process maps, the when? In Chapter 5, I explained how all flow is the result of projects and processes. Projects expand or enhance flow, and processes maintain flow. Projects have milestones with a beginning and an end, and processes have measures and are ongoing. Each person on the team has ownership on a project and ownership on one or more processes. Your project and process maps are renewed monthly and reviewed weekly. In my businesses, I am always looking to automate or outsource our processes but keep an eye on the measures. That frees me up to focus on promotions that expand or enhance the flow of the enterprise. There is a simple map for each project and process that team members use to know what they are each responsible for. This is renewed every month at their personal review, and it is reviewed every week at the half-hour team meeting, which we call the team huddle. Your flight deck, the how? Every enterprise has a flight deck, a shared document that shows the key measures in your business and what each is every week compared to your targets. Your flight deck is reviewed weekly and renewed daily. I make sure I have access to my flight deck for each business from my mobile phone and tablet so I can see all the important measures for each business in real time. Each measure is monitored by the person responsible for it, and in the weekly meetings, each person reports on how he or she is doing, what he or she is doing to course correct, and if he or she needs help. By having this, we can celebrate our successes each week based on our flight deck, and we can see how everything links all the way through the frequencies to the DNA of the enterprise. This is green level thinking. With a system that can increase your bandwidth, what green level promotion can you set up to invite other performers to play with you? Instead of asking, how do I make money? Think about asking, how can I help other people make money? Chapter 7. From green to blue, performer to conductor. Profitable cash flow through enterprise teams rhythm, culture, measurement cost of staying. Politics, maintenance, freedom. Authority and capital. Interdependence, preparation, ambition. Anchor your authority, perfect your processes, build your balance. See, congratulations, you've made it halfway up the wealth lighthouse. Green may be the middle level, but it's not about how far you have to go now, it's about how far you have come. You can see blue level from here, the domain of millionaires. A green performer is like a musician in an orchestra, playing one instrument as part of the symphony, and the ultimate level in the enterprise prism is right in front of you, the blue conductor. A conductor doesn't play any instrument, but holds the baton, sets the rhythm, and keeps everyone playing together. While performers face the audience, the conductors have their backs to the audience and face the performers. What this means in terms of wealth and business is that green performers work as part of high-performing teams in an enterprise where everyone is doing one thing. The blue conductors leave the small details of each enterprise to those performers and instead focus on the key financials, on agreements, and on building access to resources and the best people. At blue level, leaders have a separate meeting each month to monitor their entire portfolio with their investment teams, separate from any meetings with their green performers. All blue-level investors have an accountant and a lawyer within their advisory teams for their own personal wealth, separate from the companies or assets that they invest in. Simply put, the financial score sheet at blue level is different from all the levels that came before, even at enterprise level. At yellow level, we are most focused on our business's cash flow. At green level, the profit and loss statements become more important. By blue level, the most important score sheet is our balance sheet. For a dynamo genius like me who struggles with financials, I'm happier with visuals than numbers. The easiest way I found to grasp these differences comes from this quote. Establish the triangle and the problem is 2/3 solved. Establish the triangle. A GPS can determine where you are relative to a number of satellites, and then work out your exact location down to the nearest meter. Why then are so many people still lost in life? There are two reasons. The first reason is that while we have very clear maps of our physical world, there have been no maps of the metaphysical world. Ancient cultures had these maps, but they have gone largely ignored or forgotten in modern times. The MIlioner Master Plan addresses that issue by giving a GPS or metaphysical map that you can follow to move up in wealth. The second reason is that most of us aren't using in our lives the technique that an actual GPS employs to keep track of us, a method called triangulation. It was the father of triangles, Pythagoras, who said, "Establish the triangle and the problem is 2/3 solved." What he meant is that we address most problems from only 2 points, such as us and them or then and now, a straight line connecting 2 points. When we add a third point, however, we get a triangle. Each point can now be seen in context with 2 other points. This gives us both detachment and perspective in every situation. When you create your future vision, you create a triangle connecting your past, present, and future. You created a third point where you could step outside your journey and see your present life, your future life, and the path that connected one to the other. All the case studies from yellow to green in the last chapter featured people who created triangles to solve their problems. For example, when Scott created a set of criteria that his property clients would be happy to invest with, he created a triangle among his customers, his suppliers, and the criteria for them to do business together. When Vaughn created the criteria for the company he wanted to work with, he created a triangle among himself, the company he was seeking, and the criteria for a profitable partnership. When we create that third point, we create a dynamic set of relationships that allow flow to happen. This is the relationship among the 3 steps at each level of the wealth lighthouse and among the 3 levels within each of the 3 prisms. That is also how every successful wealth creator works. The power of triangulation may be ancient, but it is the foundation of modern-day accounting. The system, documented by Luca Pacioli, who managed the wealth of the Medici family as they funded large parts of the Renaissance, is called double-entry accounting. It looks at all accounts as a triangle divided into a cash flow statement, a profit and loss statement, and a balance sheet. Whenever you change a number in one statement, there is an equal and opposite change in another statement. Every transaction gets recorded as both a debit and a credit, so the triangle is always balanced. Understanding this triangle is the key to building your wealth. I have created a video to explain how the 3 relate to each other at. Whether you are looking for cash, profit, or capital return, there is someone on another point of a triangle looking for something different and willing to trade with you. Establish the triangle, and the problem is 2/3 solved. In short, money is simply a promise, and all wealth is created through the flow of promises. Your cash flow statement shows your promises paid. Your profit and loss shows your promises delivered. Your balance sheet shows your promises made. When you agree to deliver value, you are making a promise. When you deliver that value, it shows up on your P&L as a promise delivered and on your balance sheet as a promise made and owed. When the customer pays, it shows up on your cash flow statement as a promise paid and comes off the receivables on your balance sheet as a promise made and paid. Depending on how you time the flow of promises, you establish far more control of the cash flow you need when you need it. Once I understood this, my early struggles to manage my finances began to ebb. I now saw financials as simply journals to track the flow of promises, and all banknotes are just promises. That's when my wealth opened up. For example, in my publishing company when I was at yellow level 1 needed cash flow, so I went to green level printing companies that were looking for extra profit. I found one that was willing to give me 6 months credit in return for me paying them 5% above market rate for their printing. I saved the extra cash, and they made extra profit. I then went to the more pioneering green level advertisers and offered a 50% discount if they paid for 6 months advertising up front. I got the cash, and they got double the value for their money. Raising money from the market this way was much easier than trying to get bank financing. My customers and suppliers were taking a risk with me and, by doing so, giving me their vote of confidence that I was delivering something they valued. When my publishing business grew to green level and I looked for venture capital funding to grow, I had to prove I could provide what blue conductors seek: businesses and assets they can invest in that are likely to deliver a reliable return on investment. When I reached blue level, my focus changed from tracking profits from businesses to tracking returns on my investments. This resulted in investment decisions each year that led to our personal monthly cash flow rising through the rest of the 10 steps to $1 million. My mentor was right. The higher you go, the easier it gets. Blue conductors trade cash for a return on investment. Green performers trade returns in profit and capital in return for cash with blue conductors and trade cash in return for more profit with yellow players. These three form the triangle of the enterprise prism. We can all make these trades for free and only need to manage time and trust in order to build our track record of delivering on the promises behind those trades. Keep this in mind as we prepare to ascend the 3 steps from green level to blue level. The 3 steps from green to blue. Everyone has the opportunity to get to blue level. You don't have to be super intelligent, unreasonably hardworking, or freakishly talented either. In fact, you will find many blue conductors to be remarkably normal. They even downplay any special skills they might have, deferring instead to their green performers. In addition to an understanding of the wealth triangle, what people at blue level all have in common is that they earn the respect and loyalty of their teams, partners, and financiers by being dependable and consistent in the authority they are building in their markets. That is what informs the 3 steps from green to blue and the genius paths through these steps. 1. Anchor your authority. Blue conductors attract green performers by being seen as leaders and influencers in their industries. They have proven that they can marshal the resources needed to make things happen. Like the coach of a sports team, they don't need to be on the field playing. They are setting the strategy for the game. 2. Perfect your processes. Blue conductors have taken their green level rhythms to new heights with a level of care and discipline that allows everything to stay in flow, both the flow of cash and resources and the flow of information, so they invest their time in the most important decisions while leaving the day-to-day to others. This means they have time to observe the movement of capital, talent, and resources across their enterprises. 3. Build your balance. Blue conductors are most focused at their balance sheets and look at everything as an asset or a liability. This means both your financial balance sheets and your personal balance sheets, so that when things are going well you always consider the potential downside, and when things are going badly you always see the upside. Before we proceed through these paths, consider these 3 statements of wealth in terms of your health. The cash flow in your life and enterprise is like blood flow in your body. The purpose of the body is not to create blood, but without the blood flowing, the body will die. Yellow players are focused on cash flow because without cash flowing, the game is over. For the body to grow, the rhythm of the lungs adds oxygen to the blood to grow your health. In the same way, profit in a business adds to the cash flow to grow your wealth. Green performers are at a higher level of operation where they are adding profit to cash flow, allowing the business to grow. When doctors know your lungs are working, your heart is pumping, and your vital signs are strong, they can focus on the health of your individual. Organs. The key to that health is not growing oversized organs but ensuring that all your organs are operating in balance. Blue conductors do the same thing in business by following these 3 steps and focusing on assets that add and contribute to the whole. A successful blue conductor is not seeking growth for growth's sake, but seeking balance between risk and reward, between cash flow and capital growth, and between expanding and enhancing. The Tempo Genius Path from Green to Blue. When I was 22, I met my first millionaire mentor, Michael Bronstein, who taught me the 10 steps to $1 million we covered in Red Level. Michael was a property investor in Columbus, Ohio, and a Tempo genius who made his money investing in, building, and managing property developments. I worked with Michael in his string of apartment communities in return for mentoring, and in my first week I spent time assisting his Riverside apartment complex manager, Melissa. I joined Melissa when the complex was going through an upgrade and rents on the 100 apartments were being increased by 40% as a result. Melissa was speaking to all the tenants in the community about the increase. Even though the upgrades completely justified the increases and would make life better, many had decided to leave and rent elsewhere, many of them choosing to move to a more affordable community down the road, Shannon Way. Melissa was frustrated. "We have had many of these tenants for years," she said. "It's a shame to see them leaving now. We are making profits so we don't need to charge more. I hope Michael knows what he is doing." Melissa looked at the situation as a green performer. They had been reaching their profit targets. So why change what was already working? After the first week I caught up with Michael and asked him straight out, "Why are you charging more money if you're already making money? Is it because the banks are charging you more? Or do you just want to make more profit?" Michael took out a piece of paper and drew his different properties and the profit each was making. He then wrote next to each a much bigger number. "This," he said, pointing to the bigger number, "is the amount the banks are willing to value each of my properties at. When I increase the money I make in rental from a property, the bank is willing to increase the value of the property. If I make an extra $100,000 in rental from a property, the bank could be willing to value the property at 10 times that, which means the value of the property goes up by $1 million. I'm in the middle of acquiring a new property, and so when I sat with my investment team and bankers, and looked at all our different properties, Riverside was the development they were willing to revalue based on me increasing the rentals to bring in a higher return. As long as we reach a percentage of occupancy, which proves we can rent them at a higher amount, they are willing to revalue the property and give me the financing I need for my new development." This was my first introduction to how you look at life very differently at Blue Level, where everything multiplies. Earnings to one person can simply mean more profit, but it can mean 10 times that amount, or more, when measured in capital value and return on investment. A $100 increase in profit in a retail store can multiply quickly if it is rolled out over a chain of 50 stores and then is translated into an increase in the share price and the value of the business when the business is valued as a multiple of profits. When I asked Michael if he was bothered that he was losing customers to other developments, he said, "That's why I make sure I have a balanced portfolio." I didn't know what he meant, so I said, "No, I mean really. You're losing customers." Many of the people who are leaving Riverside are going to another apartment community down the road. Speaking in words I could understand then, Michael replied, "I know. I own Shannon Way as well." So what were the steps that Michael and his Tempo genius took to understand this in moving to Blue Level? Step 1. Anchor your authority. Do not remain entrenched in your business as a key part of management. staying involved with day-to-day operations and thinking your eye for detail is necessary to keep things in balance. Do appoint and empower a green performer to lead the business and remove yourself from the daily operations, using your genius to build capital value in your market niche to become an authority in your industry. As a tempo genius, you may become an authority in the markets like Donald Trump, George Soros, or Warren Buffett. Your sensory nature gives you a strong sense of timing. All tempo geniuses are more interested in exchange than innovation and must take the time they need before acting. For this reason, they anchor their authority by being grounded and down-to-earth in their analysis and delivery. They need to build a trust team to oversee their investments, including an accountant to measure their promises and a lawyer to protect their promises. At an early age, Michael learned from his mentor, one of the pioneers in U.S. apartment communities, how to build a management team for each of his developments, so he could invest his time in seeking funding and finding the right deals. He also had the time to focus on the right things for his genius in the business, which leads to Step 2. Step 2. Perfect your processes. Do not get caught up in judgment calls while overseeing your businesses. To fine-tune the processes and policies of your businesses so there's a smooth flow of cash and resources, and the process for setting strategy, innovating, marketing, and upgrading systems and talent ensures that your businesses stay current. Michael told me what was most important for Blue Conductors to keep an eye on within their businesses. Names and numbers, the key people and metrics that drive 80% of your success. But when you are at Blue Conductor level, time becomes precious, and every moment counts. By having a process to keep you in the right place at the right time, you open the space to keep an eye on the business and for luck to happen. Tempo geniuses like to be hands-on, so Michael set up a process to connect with his staff without interfering in management. When meeting with his general managers, he was most interested in the people who were making the biggest impact in the business and the key measures on the flight deck. He set up a process with tours regularly around his properties, new properties in the area, and land auctions. Step 3. Build your balance. Do not remain focused on the transactions taking place within your business, seeking to maximize the quality of exchange through people and services. Do shift your focus to capital value, setting targets for your asset values and returns on investment. Thinking back to the 5 myths we covered in going from yellow to green level, the best property investors and tempo geniuses like Michael do not make their money by sitting back blindly enjoying passive income but by actively growing their portfolio and keeping an ear to the ground. Michael's success didn't come overnight. Few tempo geniuses' successes do. It came from consistently focusing in the same field and growing his promotions from his first development with partners at yellow level to green level with a team, until eventually he had a number of different developments, each run as a separate company with a separate team as a Blue Conductor. Michael had a small team overseeing all these businesses, with his accountant and lawyer keeping everything in order. He used his tempo genius strengths to plan each year a year in advance, knowing what assets he would be revaluing, getting a return on, selling, or buying. The shifts in his portfolio generated millions in cash flow each year, so he was never reliant on earned income for any cash. The Steel Genius Path from Green to Blue. Chandresh Pala runs businesses in India and London. When I began mentoring him, we found he was a steel genius stuck at infrared level, using his cash to fund his businesses. He also had properties that he had bought, but they were in negative cash flow as well. When I first began working with Chandresh, I asked him what he would choose for his future, if he could choose anything. "I'd like to be working as a Blue Conductor," he replied. "I'd love to be able to invest in tech startups and use my steel genius to add value to them." So Chandresh took the blue level, 4th gear, path out of infrared, We set a plan for him to reorganize his assets, pay down his debts, and limit the money he was putting in his business every month. He had a property vacant, waiting on higher rents, and we simply rented it at a lower rate so he would benefit from the cash flow and go cash positive. Within 3 months, Chandresh had reorganized his personal finances and was cash flow positive. This hadn't been his initial focus when I met him, but taking a version of what became the MIlioner Master Plan test had shocked him into taking action, and following the steel path from infrared to yellow to green and finally, to blue. Step 1. Anchor your authority. Do not be internally focused, using your steel genius to keep fine-tuning the measures and systems of your business. That was the steel winning formula at green level, but it's the losing formula at blue level. Do use your steel genius to become an expert and source of knowledge in your market niche, building the team to support you to connect with the influencers in the industry. Chandresh had been funding his event technology company, CoConnex, and also had taken on the role of CEO. He switched that around by putting in a fixed amount as a loan for 6 months. Now, instead of going negative, he had a loan earning interest in his portfolio and a company with a 6-month runway to turn to profit. He then put a Blaze Genius general manager in place, so he could free himself up to follow the steps he needed to be operating as a green performer. As CoConnex turned around and with more sales coming in, Chandresh rebranded one of his businesses, Cohesia, into a tech accelerator, welcoming applications from technology companies. Using his strength as a steel genius to easily increase efficiencies and improve systems in startups, he made this the unique feature in his accelerator, offering a range of services to startups that were looking for their second round of funding and support in growing their company. To anchor his authority, Chandresh turned CoConnex into the first investee company of Cohesia. He made his own company his first customer. He then started connecting with the investment community by joining angel investor meetings. That led to Step 2. Step 2. Perfect your processes. Do not get stuck managing and measuring the processes within your company, focusing on how to increase profitability. Do put the team in place to manage and measure these processes for you, so you can oversee the company from the outside and implement the processes that allow you to monitor the trends and opportunities to maximize the capital value of the business and your assets. By seeing his own company as an investor, Chandresh's approach changed entirely. From coming in with his green level hat on to coming in with his blue level hat on. The result was that Chandresh could see his business with more clarity and less stress, with the right level of leadership, and trust in that leadership to lead the company better than he could. This gave him even more time to connect with the angel investor community. Within 6 months, Chandresh had been invited to be part of one of England's leading mentoring and investment networks, TIE. As a mentor in a network with 13,000 members across 14 countries, Chandresh began attracting opportunities from both investors and investee companies. Step 3. Build your balance. Do not keep using the cash flow statement and profit and loss as your main scoreboards to judge your success. Make them secondary to your balance sheet. Do establish a portfolio statement as your main scoreboard, giving you clear forecasts and actuals on your cash return on investments and yield on each asset, and thus growing your access to capital. Chandresh changed his outlook with a focus on his assets. By valuing his company, he saw how he could raise funding to match his own by putting in place a 5-year plan and forecast for the company's growth. Making short-term wins in profitability was no longer as important as following a trend line in the plan so potential investors could see the company was delivering on expectations. That gave the 5-year forecast more credibility, increasing Chandresh's ability to raise investments not only for CoConnex but also for Cohesia's investment fund. Chandresh then hired a general manager for Cohesia who is now creating the template of processes and measures that can be used across all the companies they are investing in. But Chandresh's story takes a cautionary turn here for everyone, especially for steel geniuses. Following the Millionaire Master Plan doesn't mean that the moment you begin using these steps everything will be clear sailing or that you can stop everything and think the boat stays on autopilot. I met Chandresh recently and while he was excited by his progress, he was back to being stressed and unclear about the future. He began asking me for advice on growing his business. I paused, as my mentor had many years earlier, and asked, "How are your personal finances?" Chandresh had been so busy building his accelerator business that he had let his personal finances fall back into infrared. We tracked back the few months that he had let this happen without noticing. The good news is that within a week, Chandresh turned it around and got out of infrared with a renewed focus and clarity. The speed with which he could turn things around came from understanding the GPS of the Millionaire Master Plan, triangulating his position at every level from infrared through blue. The map won't stop Chandresh or you from getting lost when you stop paying attention to it, but the faster you return to the map to check your position, the faster you can get yourself back on track. The Dynamo Genius Path from Green to Blue. Richard Alderson is a dynamo genius who is passionate about making a difference in the world. When I started mentoring Richard, he was primarily focused on co-founding UnLTD India. This group advises, supports, and provides funds to small social enterprises in India, using money raised from foundations and corporate donors. Prior to this, Richard spent time in the corporate world and subsequently at UnLTD, a network of social entrepreneurs in England. The problem was that Richard only paid himself what he needed and put the rest into the growth of his business. His personal cash flow wasn't negative, but it wasn't positive either. He was at red level. When I began mentoring Richard 3 years ago, and told him this was a problem and his first focus needed to be his own personal wealth, he couldn't understand why that was important. In fact, it felt like the opposite of what he believed in. "It's not about the money," he said. "If you are just getting by, then every decision you make is a money decision. So it's all about the money," I replied. As long as Richard wasn't in a position to easily write a personal check for $10,000, it would always feel like $10,000 was a lot of money. If he couldn't write a personal check for $100,000, that would always feel like a lot of money. At Blue level, writing checks for $100,000 is easy. The promotions that Blue conductors focus on are all in the millions of dollars. Richard needed to see that the language and thought process of someone who is used to writing checks in 6 figures and 7 figures is very different from the language and thought process of someone who writes them in 3 figures or 4 figures. He needed to understand that his relationship with money at a personal flow level had a direct impact on the decisions he made about money in his job or business. "You can't help the poor by being poor," I said. "Build your personal flow, and use that as your steps up the lighthouse. Imagine how different your outlook would be if each week you wake up with another $20,000 in extra cash to put towards something. That's $1 million extra a year in your pocket. What would you do with that money?" Richard thought about it. "I'd invest it in social entrepreneurs," he said. "Great! So stop thinking about helping social entrepreneurs with all your time and start thinking about investing in them with your money." Now he needed to find his dynamo genius path to Blue level. Step 1. Anchor your authority. Do not be busy constantly starting up new ventures at Green level, putting all your own cash from one business into the next. Do focus on an industry in which you want to anchor your authority and attract all the best performers and the smart money, so you can have others grow and start the businesses you are invested in using outside funding to leverage your genius. I suggested Richard change his business model from raising money through donations to creating a social enterprise fund where investors would get a return. And instead of approaching people with money to invest as a client, he could approach them as equals looking to co-invest with them. This would change not only the way Richard communicates with potential investors but also the way he views the social enterprises they were investing in. Richard began to connect to the main social entrepreneur networks and conferences around the world, and today he has built a reputation as a leading change maker supporting social entrepreneurs in India. Step 2. Perfect your processes. Do not keep making decisions based on your interpretation of the data, where everyone is still relying on your instincts and vision in deciding on what to invest time and money in. Do build a team with a steel genius to create the metrics and measures for your businesses that everyone in the team can interpret and understand, so you empower others to assess the viability and suitability of the right investment deals and business deals you bring to them. While Chandresh used his steel